internet. Welcome back once again. It's your boys, the Hit Players. It's going to catch on eventually. Once we start selling merch is when I'll stop saying
we start selling merch.
We're back because today is the day. Barbenheimer is upon us. Can't believe that became a thing.
Having seen Oppenheimer, anyone who sees both of these movies in one day is
My sister's
crazy.
doing that with her boyfriend tomorrow.
That's too much for me.
It'll probably be out by then. But
Yeah.
they're like, she told me they're going out at like 2. They're going to watch Oppenheimer first. They're going to go out, eat. Or no. They're doing Barbie first because it's shorter.
It's shorter,
And then they're going to go out, eat, and then come back to the same theater and watch Barbie.
Yeah, it's a bit too
Oppenheimer
much for me.
It was like, that's intense. But anyways, happy holidays to all those who
Celebrate.
have been waiting for this for, it feels like a long time. It's been a long time coming. It's a day that, it's really interesting though. Just a quick preamble to these reviews that we're going to do. We are going to split the reviews up, so don't worry, Barbie's coming soon.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just weird that this is a thing. I've never ever. Have you ever experienced something like this where it's two movies, not only polar opposites of their demographic, but just their actual, like, the movies themselves?
I've seen it in video games.
And they're both extremely
Yeah,
popular.
because when Animal Crossing New Horizons came out at the same time that Doom came out,
Yeah.
those two people were making memes about the two of them
Yeah.
being competing. And then apparently The Dark Knight was released the same day as Mamma Mia as well,
yeah.
and I don't even remember. And nobody's ever. made a
Nolan
meme
can
about
never
that.
escape
Yeah.
musicals.
So it's such a dumb meme in my opinion. Honestly, I get why it's funny,
Yeah.
but the films couldn't be further apart from each other.
I feel like a lot of it is Warner just being like, we're going to stick it to you, Christopher.
I feel like a lot of it too comes from the fact that nobody knew what the movies would be like before they came
exactly,
out.
right.
So it could be this idea that Oppenheimer was gonna just be some explosion fest, and Barbie was just gonna be pink the whole way through. It's like
Barbie was the dark and brooding, mysterious noir, and Oppenheimer is the fun, playful.
I
Kids
mean,
movie.
we didn't know, but nevertheless,
Just imagine if both Greta and Chris actually did that.
Yeah.
They just
they were collaborating the entire time.
halfway through the
collaborating.
inception of their movies, they just
Swapped.
themes,
No, they swapped projects.
and that too. That'd be funny.
Nevertheless, yeah. Barbenheimer will be laid to rest after.
This is one of those events that
Yeah.
we will just know of.
Yeah,
Like Woodstock '69.
yeah.
It'll be like,
Nobody-
this is our Woodstock.
Barbenheimer.
Yeah.
Maybe, I mean, enough conglomerates come together. We'll get a double disc release
Yeah.
of both of these films, 2 in
You
1.
have to get the studios to actually be nice to each other.
Yeah, you'll
for
find
sure.
it in the clearance bin somewhere.
Anyways, moving on. So we watched Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer.
When recording this, we literally just finished watching it like an hour ago.
Mhm.
So everything's pretty fresh. Everything's pretty new.
We haven't had time to sit on any of these opinions.
Yeah, which is how we like to do it here. you know?
Yeah.
It just makes it fun because in 2 weeks when we're like, actually, I kind of hate that movie. Or vice versa.
Just gives us an excuse to record another podcast.
Yeah,
in the
exactly.
future.
Exactly. We can revise our 2023 reviews
Yeah.
in 2025. when
Pretty much. Yep.
We're 2 years apart. But so anyways, before we get into the nitty-gritty of everything, just a quick, was it what you thought it was going to be? Did it go places you thought it was going to be? Did it go places you think it was going to go? Excuse me. What stood out to you the most in terms of, because this is not, we were kind of hoping for it, but this is not the usual action-packed
Mm-hmm.
suspense. Well, it's a little suspenseful, but it's not the Nolan that we've become accustomed to.
Yeah.
It's more old school, it feels like.
I think we both agreed that the hype for this movie, not the Barbenheimer hype, but the trailers for Oppenheimer specifically, we both agreed that it kind of felt it was going back to the Prestige era
Yeah.
Nolan more than the Interstellar or Inception
Yeah.
era Nolan. So I believe my first expectation was that it was just gonna be a normal biopic, which it was all the way throughout.
Yeah.
I think I believe the film was going to show the effects of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, but wasn't going to show the actual bombs being dropped.
Yeah.
And the film does that as well. It focuses on Oppenheimer the entire way through.
Mm-hmm.
I did not, and I didn't watch many of the trailers. I didn't even really read any articles or watch any YouTube videos that was about the story that was coming up beforehand. I think some of the Lewis Strauss stuff was already known before the film was released. That whole subplot, basically the plot of the film as well. But I didn't really pay attention to any of that or even look into any of that history. I didn't know anything about that going into this film. And it played a much, much bigger role than I thought that it would. So that would be the first expectation that was broken, was there was simply a part of J. Oppenheimer's life that I knew very little about, but ended up playing a much, much larger role in this film, which I'm sure people who know the actual history, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
But I didn't. So all that was new information for me.
Sure.
And how about you?
I expected it to be nothing but courtrooms and hearings and people yelling at each other and talking to each other. Which is what we got.
You must have really liked the second half of this movie.
Which is what we got.
Yeah.
But the way he did it, I think, brings back the old school Nolan. The use of nonlinear editing, the use of visuals to enhance, at times, a character's emotion. There are audio cues that,
Very recurring.
yes, that are very fun at times, and at other times I'm like, all right, okay, cool. But for the most part, I would say it exceeded my expectations. I went in with very low. I don't want to say low because it's a
You had
Christopher
no
Nolan.
hopes whatsoever.
No, not necessarily that, but it was just my what I thought this movie was going to be and what I got were two different things. But at the same time, there's that thread that I knew, or that setting that I knew that it was going to be painted against, which was the courtroom stuff and all the political stuff.
So you
and
did know all that. But
I
going
kind
into
of
it.
figured it would.
Okay,
I, mean,
I didn't know any
I
of that.
knew Oppenheimer was in battle with government officials and stuff like that. I didn't know the level of details that they went into, which is it true? Is it not? Who knows? You got to read the book. I've never read the book, but I did know that he was a polarizing figure post-war and all this nonsense, or all that. So I figured that was going to be an interesting part, which is the part that I was the most interested about. Was how does the American public view him post? How does he view himself? How do these scientists view him? And we got a lot of opinions.
Yeah. Which is funny because
Depending on the demographic you're asking.
I was such a nerd about quantum physics that I was way more excited to see that part of the film.
The actual building.
The
of
actual
bomb.
building of the bomb.
Yeah.
The who's who of quantum physics
Yeah.
at that time. So the movie perfectly did both. Of what we wanted.
And it's layered against the nonlinear. I mean, it starts with him in the beginning when he's still in England, I think, and then literally the next scene is a congressional hearing for Strauss, who was trying to become a member of the cabinet. And the way it kind of just once again, he's doing the pincer movement. And we're going back. We're going back and also forwards and also sideways. Classic Christopher. You silly guy.
All right.
But yeah, it was. I think the way it was constructed was what was surprised by the most. Just how well it worked.
So no spoilers included.
No
What would you
spoilers.
rate this movie?
We're gonna start there. Oh, geez. Okay.
Well, we want to do a no spoiler review so for the people at home right away.
Okay. I'd give it an A.
You give it an A?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna give it an A too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really good. This movie's really good, guys.
Go see it, or we're gonna spoil it now.
Yeah, it's really well acted. I'll say this right now, Emily Blunt. Not used to seeing her being the character that she is.
Mm.
She is usually portrayed, or she plays characters who are like the polar opposite of how she is the character she plays in this movie. I don't know if that's a real life. I know that's a real life person. I don't know if that's like the real life
Portrayal.
Portrayal. Yes, thank you. Of an accurate portrayal, I guess, of the real life Kitty.
Mm.
But your dad made a joke. You called your dad like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell him the joke?
This has a bit of an ensemble cast, and my dad, hello dad, you're watching this, said that he believes that the entire supporting actor category at the Oscar will just be nothing but this movie.
Yeah.
Which is understandable.
It's really good. It's really
Which-
well acted.
It's very well acted. I mean, they are all bit players because there are so many scientists involved in the creation of the Manhattan Project. But there's very standout actors who have their parts, which would off the bat be Benny Sadfi right away, in my opinion. Matt Damon.
Better
as
actor than
well.
director?
No. He's also only made like 3 movies, so I don't really have much to say.
He's also
Along
like,
with
acted
his
in, like,
brother.
3 movies,
Yeah. But no, Sadfi, Matt Damon,
Yeah.
Robert Downey Jr.,
Florence Pugh for the
Florence Pugh for Best Supporting
iconic
Actress.
role that she's in.
Yes. Kenneth Branagh as well, in his few scenes.
Great cameo. Gary Oldman. Did you know that was Gary Oldman?
I did not know.
Yeah, I knew immediately.
Really?
I was like, this is somebody important. When he's walking to speak to the guy.
Yeah.
I won't spoil it for anybody. But when he goes to speak to the Gary Oldman character, I'm like, this is going to be somebody important.
I did not know
knew
that.
it.
That's
And then when I
hilarious.
saw him, I was like, of course it's fucking Gary Oldman.
He has to bring him in anyway.
I was like, this is perfect for him.
He's like, oh, I can't get a Michael Caine. All right, bring Gary Oldman.
yeah,
in.
this is perfect for him.
Yeah, I had no idea. Well, which is funny too because Gary Oldman had just come off playing Churchill.
Churchill, yeah.
So
Yeah,
now
yeah,
he's in
yeah.
back to back.
That's what I was saying. It was either going to be Oldman or it was going to be Christian Bale coming off of
Cheney.
Yeah, it's like somebody who's willing to get in a fat suit is going to
Yeah,
do it,
that's
or
hilarious.
actually get fat.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Um,
That's so funny.
Yeah,
Such a good actor, Gary Oldman.
it's funny because this movie it's Nolan's way, because we were talking about when we did the pod last week about like all the problems that we've had with his movies,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not problems that we just have. They're problems. The sound.
Everybody
is
has
always
brought up.
bad. It's
Yep.
confusing at times. The characters are kind of stilted and 2-dimensional. There's
Mhm.
not really like pure inner motivation.
Yeah.
for basically 95% of his characters. But this movie just felt like it answered all of those problems. Right? First off, we understood what was being said at all times.
Yeah, that's true.
Even the characters with funny accents, it was like he made an emphasis to either he made an emphasis or the actors made an emphasis to have them speak slower
Mm-hmm.
and more pronounced if they had an accent, which
Yeah.
helps.
They not only enunciate, but they're well mixed.
yeah, exactly. And then all the characters are extremely fleshed out, even to the guys like the scientists,
Mhm.
even some of the scientists who have like 2 scenes, like
Yeah.
the Josh Peck character.
Their personality still comes through in those scenes
yeah,
pretty well.
exactly.
Mhm. Or the Rami Malek character,
Yeah.
who is
Yeah.
just like a complete, just like comic relief.
Afterthought for
Yeah.
most of it. Yeah.
For most of it,
Yeah,
yeah.
most of
No
the scenes.
spoilers,
Yeah, yeah.
but
And then it's pretty straightforward understanding. There's the weird like, am I in a flashback? Am I not in a flashback? But he uses not only Oppenheimer the character, he ages him, he dresses him differently. The hair, the hat
Yeah.
is like Thor getting his hammer back.
you could say that.
I feel like my guy just watched an Avengers movie when he made this one.
Yeah, he's like, what's an iconic piece of clothing I can give my character?
The pipe and hat.
Yeah, the pipe and the hat.
But stuff like that, or like they'll make references to real life events where you're like, oh, we're in the 40s. Oh, we're back in 39.
Mhm.
Okay, now we're in 46.
Yeah.
Now we're in 52. Stuff like that. that I think, helps, because this isn't a movie where it's like Memento, where you're trying to be confused.
Yeah.
It's just
You're trying to understand it.
I'm trying to tell you this story that is very well told.
Mhm. I feel like in many ways too, this is you could argue his counterpart to Dunkirk, in the way that in Dunkirk, it was almost like, I'm going to make a movie about the British spirit. There's almost going to be no characters except for just this theme that runs throughout everyone in the film.
Yeah.
He kind of does the opposite here in Oppenheimer, where he says, I'm going to make a film about America. I'm going to do it through one specific person. And just everyone else around him is going to have their little, version of that interpretation of Oppenheimer's ideas. So I think that the casting and each character, how their personality comes through, for a large cast is pretty fleshed out, pretty well done.
Even when you're dealing with a biopic, and B, a large ensemble cast like that, regardless of whether or not it's an accurate portrayal of the character, you have to do that, because otherwise you're just like, okay, why are five guys just talking? What do they bring to the table? Why are they? I mean, that's screenwriting 101 is, if a character talks or if a character's in a scene, there has to be a purpose for them. And I think he does that the best here, out of at least of all of his movies, in terms of handling an ensemble cast.
Yeah, especially when it's useful. In many ways, it feels like he probably recognized that was a weakness, and then was like, all right, well, in this film, since they're all physicists with different, knowledge about different parts of physics, I can include this character because he can have a line where he knows this, and I can include this character because he has a line where he knows that.
It feels like a bank heist movie.
Yeah.
But if the bank heist was an atomic bomb.
Or like you said, it was like the Avengers coming together.
Yeah, there were moments. Shout out to my 10th grade chemistry teacher for teaching me all these scientist names. But there were scientists that he referenced that I was like, I knew that guy. It was like, it only happened like 2 or 3 times, I swear. I'm not that smart.
Heisenberg, I've seen Breaking Bad.
I did want to make a comment and be like, Nolan could have done the funniest thing ever and just brought on
Bryan Cranston to play Heisenberg.
Yeah. That would have been the funniest thing in the world. But alas, he didn't.
So. Maybe Bryan Cranston didn't want to do a German accent
probably
for his
not.
scene.
Probably. Good move by Bryan Cranston on that one.
Yeah. All right.
But in terms of... even guys like Josh Hartnett, who is almost his running partner, the conservative scientist.
Yeah.
He's in it
Lawrence.
For quite a bit of it, and he is, from the jump, he's really, really well done. It's a really... Welcome back to acting, Josh Hartnett. I missed you since Pearl Harbor.
Let's see here.
But it's... It's a good one, guys. I would highly recommend. If you like Christopher Nolan, watch this movie. If you like,
obviously,
I'm gonna give you this comparison. If you like The Social Network, watch this movie.
That's interesting. Can you elaborate?
It is.
I have expected you to just say no.
Well, it's a guy. It's.
As a biopic.
Yes, it is a biopic about an American titan in engineering, whatever. I'm going to say engineering. It's not really, doesn't explain Mark Zuckerberg very well, but just for the sake of this discussion. It's 2 titans of American inventions. I'll say that. There we go. And the way it is told is we are watching it both through their lens and also the lens of everyone around them who has their own
part to play.
Not only that, but their own perception about the
who
invention.
He is. Yeah.
And also him as a person, correct. Regardless if that's a realistic portrayal of that, that's not for us to discuss.
That's true.
We mentioned that with Social Network, that we were like, it's not really realistic, and Mark Zuckerberg has denounced this movie for that, but it's still one of our favorite movies of all time.
I think the other another good difference between those 2 movies is Oppenheimer is very sympathetic to Oppenheimer.
Correct.
Whereas The Social Network doesn't give a shit about Mark Zuckerberg by the end of the film. Yeah. They're like, we don't want you to sympathize with this guy, basically.
This guy is a terrible human being.
Yeah.
And it has only aged better. There's another thing, too, is their inventions and, the kind of the nucleus
Mhm.
for making these inventions. You know, they're kind of
Nucleus,
like-
was that the pun?
Like no, but like the reason they came out with these have taken on new interpretations throughout the
Yeah.
years.
Mhm.
At least when you're looking at it through the prism of a movie,
Mhm.
right? Especially with a lot of the recent stuff about Facebook, the weird
Mhm.
stuff that happened a couple
Metaverse.
years ago, and also just the European crisis right now that's happening. It's been thinking about atomic bombs a whole lot.
Yeah.
this past year. So
Yeah.
it's always funny that I don't know. It's just taking on a new meaning to me, I guess, in a way. But I don't know if you feel the same.
No, that's a good comparison between the two films, I think. You know, it's funny. I was thinking about Social Network earlier today, and I don't think it was because I knew that these films would be similar.
Yeah.
But in a weird way, they are both biopics about people who made inventions that have, I don't want to say for better or for worse, they have just changed, you know, our, in a weird way, almost our perception of humanity. I think Facebook has done enough damage, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Oppenheimer at least has the advantage that Oppenheimer died in 1967 and Mark Zuckerberg is still alive with us today. So how those films actually represent the people is, you know, Oppenheimer can have a open and shut case, whereas Social Network is still going to be up for interpretation in the future. But nevertheless, yeah, I think that that's a pretty good comparison that I didn't think about.
Yeah.
Any non-spoiler things that you would like to throw out there before?
No. I
No?
think it was really well paced for a 3-hour movie.
Yes, yes,
There
absolutely.
are, I will say this, and this is the reason it's probably not an S. But there are moments when it lulls, and you start to get like, okay, I gotta go pee. This is a good time to go pee. But I think Nolan, either within the editing room or just his innate sense as a director, I should say through his editor or through himself, I guess I should say, just kind of realized like, all right, people are going to sleep. Kabam! Here's
Yeah.
just some random audio. Like, just something random, right? Where it's just like, whoa, like the lady next to me. I don't know if you saw her. She's like, they were an older couple. But there were moments where she like jolted. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry.
That's funny.
I was like, you should have known what you got into when you came into a Christopher Nolan movie, especially in IMAX.
About a bomb.
Yeah, especially, yeah.
That's true. In my opinion, I think this film was pretty well paced. I wouldn't even say there were any lulls. But obviously, this is a subject matter physics
Yeah.
that I enjoy anyway. So I was.
I
glued to
say
the
that,
screen.
by the way, I say this as looking through it like an average person who watches. Not to say average people are dumb. I was intrigued because I just like that period of history.
Yeah.
But I can see why people who aren't either fascinated with history or fascinated with physics like yourself would find that not
Boring.
very boring. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Because there's also this idea of, I feel, if you only know Oppenheimer as the person who made the nuclear bomb and you don't know anything else about his life, you might think the movie gets up until they actually test the nuclear weapon for the first time.
Yeah.
And then you're thinking, what's the point of anything else in this film?
Yeah.
Why include anything past that? And so I can understand that there is like probably an entire hour and a half of this film that people who aren't interested in, you know, Oppenheimer, you know, where he goes after the bomb is dropped, might completely dismiss a good portion of this film.
Yeah.
And I think complaints about it being too long or boring will stem from that entirely, in my opinion. But I enjoyed it all the way through. I think it's an A. I would recommend it.
Is he back? Is our boy? Is
he
the
back?
boy back?
Nolan or
Yeah.
yeah, I think
Because he's kind of had. We were talking about it last week, where these last two movies are kind of divisive
Yeah.
for people out on him. You know, there's a lot of contention with Tenet and Dunkirk.
if this movie didn't have the Barbenheimer hype behind it, I don't know if it would have done as well as it is. Just because it's an R-rated film,
Yeah.
just because it's a 3-hour biopic, even with Nolan's name attached. I think because of the Barbenheimer hype, because of all the memes, because of the articles about the sex scenes that were basically non-existent, it's like that alone was probably his saving grace for this film, in my opinion. Looking at it just purely objectively, not as a fanboy. I think that alone, he's probably happy for it. Where he's like, the amount of people who aren't even fans of his, who are gonna see this film just because they also want to see Barbie on the same day, is probably gonna outnumber the actual fans who will see.
It's like two Venn diagrams.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah. Somehow they managed to just make the smallest intersection between those two Venn diagrams, and that will be at least, an untold millions of dollars in box office. So, by all means, if he's back, this is the film that I think will do it for him.
Yeah, back in everybody's good graces.
Yeah, with no confusing special effects and no too long-winded exposition scenes either about quantum physics, disappointingly, but nevertheless.
And I'll say this too, before we head into our spoiler review. By the way, just for full disclaimer, we watched this in IMAX, not 70 mil, because we live in Austin, and Austin does not support 70 mil. So we watched in just regular old IMAX. Don't think I would want to go see it in 70 mil.
Oh yeah,
I don't know.
why is that?
Just don't feel like
Well, you don't know.
there was enough. There was enough there.
That's true. The trailers made it seem like there would be all these abstract shots of dust clouds and
there
particles,
is,
and there
but it's
are.
not
But the film doesn't feel like that all the way throughout.
correct. Yeah.
I understand
It's
how
not,
you feel.
This is not Lawrence of Arabia. Lawrence of Arabia. Lawrence of Arabia. Or
Yeah.
something where it's like stunning landscape shots. I
Yeah.
mean, there's stunning shots of New Mexico. Don't get me wrong, but it's also like New Mexico.
Yeah.
It's not, Fiji. It's not. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Brazil. I don't know. No, that's probably a bad example. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not.
Brazil's a
I've
beautiful
been to
country,
New
by the
Mexico
way.
many times.
Yeah.
It's not. I don't want to go see it in 70 mil.
That's understandable. Yeah.
No disrespect to New Mexicans. Beautiful city. Beautiful state. But I had another thing, but I forgot what I was going to say.
No problem. I'll get into the first. Not necessarily a spoiler, but it is something that I don't want to bring up if you haven't seen the film. So go watch the film and then come back to this. Hello. I hope you enjoyed the 3-hour movie.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. No,
sorry,
go ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead.
I figured out my thought. You
Yeah.
brought it back. You brought it back.
That's good.
If 3 hours scares you, you could almost watch this as like a two-parter.
Yeah.
Which I
that's
don't.
true.
I hate when people do that. I hate it. I can't stand it. Just sit down and watch a movie all the way through, unless it's like a 6-hour movie, or it's Justice League, and you just can't stand.
You
to
just
sit
take
there.
a nap halfway
you just
through?
Can't stand
Yeah.
to sit there for 4 hours. That I understand. But when it's just sit there and watch it all at once, because that's how you immerse yourself in it. But if you have to, if you're a little scared of sitting in a theater for 3 hours, or you're gonna buy it, you want to watch it,
Stream
try
it.
it out.
Mm-hmm.
I could see a case for starting it and just watching it half in half.
Yeah.
Where that halfway point is, I don't know.
Mhm.
Because there's definitely a like point A, point B.
Yeah.
At least in the structure of the screenplay.
Yeah. It's so weird, and actually the first thing that I was going to talk about was the editing, because there are two distinct plots, and there is a point in this film in which one plot ends and the other one begins. But because the film cuts back and forth between those two time periods, because they happen at different periods, and then brings them together at the end, a la Memento. It doesn't feel like there's an actual. It's hard to pinpoint the exact point in which. I mean, it's probably immediately after the bomb. They test the bomb for the first time. That's probably the exact point, but nevertheless, the only reason I wanted to bring up the editing is because I think that that was my favorite part of this whole film.
Yes.
The Nolan.
Jennifer Lane, by the way. That's the editor.
Yes, fantastic job.
Shout out to her.
Nolan gives away his hand at the beginning of the film with 2 title cards, fission and fusion.
Yeah.
And anybody who knows that fission is when 2 atoms split, and then fusion is when they come together to form one. And the fact that the color scenes are fission, and the black and white scenes are fusion, and then the color scenes slowly split into both the 2 halves of the film and the 2 timelines, and then at the end the fusion part takes over and the black and white becomes color and they become whole again. I understand why those titles are there, because I guess they're good words to learn about if you're talking about physics. But the way in which that is actually done in the film, the way that he incorporates those 2 ideas in the editing, was one of my favorite parts about this film. And I didn't want to make that a spoiler, so hopefully you've seen the film by now and you can appreciate that looking back on it.
Okay, last thought before we actually move to spoilers.
Yeah.
It does feel like a conglomeration of all of his movies up to this point.
Oh, yeah?
You have the crazy editing style of Memento. You have the courtroom drama / history aspect of like a Dunkirk, or
Dunkirk,
even I would
Prestige.
say like a Prestige. Yeah, correct. You have just really well-paced thriller scenes, a la the Dark. I mean, every other movie, but I would say the Dark Knight,
You have
Trilogy.
the insane science of Tenet.
and Inception, and even Interstellar. It's just, it feels like he's just re-peaked in a way. Which I will not give this movie an S.
I was going to say, are you going to give this an S by the end of this?
Nope, not gonna do it. We gotta wait a couple months. I gotta. That's the thing about the S tier.
You got to own it on
You have
Blu-ray.
I have to watch it again on 4K, see if it's worth it. Yeah, exactly.
Understandable.
So, or I might just watch it again tomorrow. I don't know.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
I might. I'm unemployed.
But we support the strikes. We support
We
the
do.
unions.
We do. Of course.
Yes.
Yes, we do. We do.
All right. Now, in terms of the spoilers,
Go watch this movie.
go watch this movie. Let's see here. The Robert Downey Jr. character and all of those courtroom scenes at the end, they caught me off guard a little bit because they feel so enclosed. This really feels like
Yes.
you have 2 different movies that he stitched together to be one. And like I said, I still think that this movie is an A, in my opinion, but the feeling of those scenes is so incredibly different from the first half of this film that it really feels like another movie. And the actor who I had to look up, his name was Jason Clarke. He played the man doing most of the interrogation during those boardroom scenes. Did a fantastic job.
Really good
because
actor.
I hated him so
Jesus,
much
what
by
a-
the end of it.
This guy, every time I see him in a movie, I'm just like, why is he not in more stuff? Just why is he stuck doing like Planet of the Apes?
Yeah,
You know, I mean, he was in Zero Dark 30, so I mean, and,
that's
you
true.
know,
Yeah.
But it's just like, why can't he be more, you know? Not that this. By the way, Planet of the Apes, probably one of the better trilogies of the 2010s. Not gonna lie.
I
But
think we've said that
I'm just
before on this
saying,
podcast.
Why can't he be paired with a really, really well renowned director?
Outside of Zero Dark 30, which I
of-
think is a good.
Yes,
it's a
it
good
is.
movie.
It's a very good movie.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing is like, you feel the vindictiveness that this character has through the directing that Nolan has, because you don't. We had never seen a character like that in a Christopher Nolan movie, to the level of just pure. I don't
Like
you.
vitriol.
Yeah, exactly. I hate you. Like, I don't like what you stand for. I think you're a hypocrite and all of this, and you feel that authentically through the performance, and it's like, this is good.
Yeah. I definitely feel like, to a certain extent, when people our age look back on McCarthyism and the Red Scare, I at least personally might sometimes make the mistake of dismissing it as just being like, yeah, well, nobody really was just mad at people for being communists that. But then it's like you have the Casey Affleck character who it's like, no, I would rather kill you than have you, stay in America.
I
if
mean,
think
they
you're
hung
communist.
the couple who exposed the atom bomb to the Russians. The couple's escaping my name right now, but
They did electrocute
hung
the Rosen. Their name escapes me, but I do remember.
that's who it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
They didn't hang him. They electrocuted him. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, there was a legitimate scare,
Yeah.
for lack of a better word, about the Russians. They just thought they were gonna demolish our way of life because, and not to get on like a philosophical tangent here, but the idea of capitalism and the idea of communism in its purest form, the opposite cannot exist, right? It just cannot exist. So the idea is, well, if you're not going to conform to our ideas, we just have to kill you. Which was a legitimate thing for the 50s and 60s and a little bit in the 70s. It's not till later that we're like, wait a minute. Why can't we just get along?
The Rosenbergs. That was who were electrocuted.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's those scenes were both very well done because they weren't so much suspenseful as much as they were just harrowing and infuriating.
Yeah.
But all the actors in those scenes did a fantastic job because you really not only feel the vitriol that they feel for Oppenheimer, but also not knowing the history at that time. I myself was questioning, like, Oppenheimer wasn't the spy. And then the Robert Downey Jr. character reveals his plot behind the scenes, and I'm kind of like, okay, I knew that like something was up, but I didn't know who did what. And they do such a good job where you're like, here's the black and white scene. We think it's Oppenheimer, but I don't think it's Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
Here's the color scene. Who else could it be? I'm, watching everyone like a hawk now. They'd be like, is it you? Is it you?
Those
is it you?
last 30 minutes when Downey Jr. Strauss is not selected to be a cabinet member, and then it's paralleled with Oppenheimer getting his verdict, and then their motivations are being each other's motivations for blackmailing, in essence, the other are being revealed to us through the use of cross editing and just putting the pieces together. In those last 30 minutes, I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
It's so well done.
It's like he drops 2 bombs on you in this movie.
Yeah, literally, yeah. One is actually a bomb, and the other one is a spiritual bomb.
Yeah.
It feels like.
That's funny.
Because at first I was like, this Strauss character, I knew he was an important figure, but like, why is he in a movie about Oppenheimer? And then you're like, oh, this is the guy who brought him down.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, so why are we still watching it? Oh. Oppenheimer's striking back from the grave.
Yeah.
Like, all right.
That's
you got to get one last kill shot in before you kick the can.
And that is when the Rami Malek character comes in, who is a great just kind of, sleight of hand, pull this out. You weren't paying attention to this guy.
Yeah.
Because you kind of see him and you're like...
Ultimate Chekhov's gun.
Yeah. The Chekhov's
Which
bomb.
I don't know how you miss Rami Malek.
Yeah.
But
how you put him in a movie and not give him lines.
Yeah, exactly. That was my worst fears. I was like, all right, half of the guys I was excited about are getting lines. WTF. And then the ending happened, and I was like,
yeah.
All right, that makes sense.
Whether this was planned or not, or whether this was just intended to be a motif throughout the film, but every time a new character is introduced, you never see their face at first.
Yeah.
You always see an over the shoulder of them. And so when Rami Malek's character is shown and he has 2 appearances, and you're waiting for that 3rd appearance, but when they bring him in at the end and you just see the over the shoulder, you're like, who could this be?
Because he's not even in focus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just like, I don't know who this is going to be. And then, like, in the theater, when they gave that reveal and everyone was like, oh. And I was like,
I'm
nice.
telling you, he watched an Avengers movie.
He watched
it
an
was
Avengers
just a lot
movie.
of, like, all right, here's Casey Affleck from the back of his head.
He was like, how can I do callbacks and references, but within a movie?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you remember that actor you liked? Guess what? He's in this movie too.
Yeah.
And it's just like camera whips around.
Pretty much, yeah.
There were a lot of movies. I think Safdie was the one that got me the most. Where I was like, nice, there's Safdie.
I was like, Josh Peck?
Or Gary Oldman, too.
Yeah, I was like, I just see Drake and Josh now.
Yeah, right. Josh Peck, too.
That's funny. But outside of that, do you have any gripes with what did you not enjoy in this movie? How would you criticize it? I have one specific one.
Give it to me, because I don't have one.
Florence Pugh. Her character.
Elaborate.
So the dynamic between Oppenheimer, his wife, and Florence Pugh's character, whose name escapes me, but I will look at it right now. Jean
Tatlow, I think.
I understood
Tatlock, sorry.
not only based off of what I had read before seeing this film, how their relationship dynamic played out, based off of all the headlines. I believe that this was almost going to be a relationship drama movie more than anything.
Sure.
And then watching the film, it felt like it not only happened in the span of like 2 scenes, but was over before the midpoint of this film. Now, the effects that Oppenheimer's behavior has on his wife, Kitty, lasts throughout the course of this film. That never goes away. And her character is so strained and exhausted in every scene that she appears that you just can't help but feel that weight of her emotion as well. And yet, I feel like the relationship is too shallow, in my opinion, especially since he uses Florence Pugh's character, he uses Jean as more metaphorically than an actual literal affair that happened, which I was a little disappointed in. It led to cool imagery, I guess, but in my opinion, like, it felt like he had to cut that storyline out to make room for more of the courtroom drama, maybe. I feel like I would have wanted to see, and I was expecting far greater depth into that relationship than I got. Florence Pugh probably has a collective 2 minutes of screen time in this film.
Yeah.
She is in it for so little time, and I just would have liked to see more of that influence, because there are references to Oppenheimer, being promiscuous or being a womanizer. And yet I feel like his actual relationship with the women in this film is just a classic Nolan non-existent wallpaper in the background. I was very disappointed in that. But I was also made to believe going into this film that it would be like half of this film.
Yeah.
Do you feel otherwise?
No, because their relationship is, or I do feel differently, but it's because their relationship is the reason he is untrustworthy to begin with. Because it's like, okay, you say you're not a communist, but also you told your wife that you would never,
Yeah.
you had an affair with multiple women. So it's like, how can we really trust you? Which people, by the way, the government actually did use that against people in hearings, in communist hearings. They would like wiretap him, follow him and stuff. And it's like, yeah, we spot you, making out with another woman.
Yeah.
Like, how can we trust that you're just not freaking, you want free healthcare for everybody?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or something like that. I don't know. But
not only that too, but if you've ever know or talked to anybody who has ever had to get a high level security clearance, they know that the most important person is the spouse.
Yeah.
Because you go home, you're cleared, but you go home and you talk to your spouse and you tell them everything, and it's like, well, who are they going to tell now? And so I just felt like there was a greater dynamic there that just wasn't in this film for me, in my opinion. Even though I think Emily Blunt did a fantastic job, and her character really freaked me out.
I need a cigarette.
Yeah. I was like, is she going to kill someone by the end of this film?
She's
like,
very that's what I'm saying. She was. We're not. I mean, she's freaking Mary Poppins, for crying out loud. Like, we're not used to seeing her be like that, right? I think the most contentious we've ever seen her is when she's in Tom Cruise and what is it?
But she's in Sicario, I think. Her
Sicario, that's another good one.
Really
Yeah. But she says like 2 lines of dialogue in that movie. She's kind of just there as the blank slate.
Fair. The audience insert.
But this is the first time we actually see her with agency and with a just actual characterization to her, other than serving the purpose of the themes in the background. But it's a valid complaint because Florence Pugh is heavily marketed in this movie. I mean, she was on the red carpet, and it's like my boy Josh Hartnett was in. I don't think he was on the red carpet, So it's like, what the hell?
Yeah, yeah.
He's in it for half the movie. He's in it for almost the whole movie. Really.
Yeah. Nevertheless, that is, in my opinion, my biggest complaint about this film, which it's another Nolan thing.
Yeah.
It's easy to criticize him for his female characters because, I mean, at this point, he basically does it in every film.
Yeah.
So a little disappointing for me for that. But that would be really my only complaint against this film. And the fact that it is such an incredibly small portion of this film, too, means that there's so much else that I liked anyway.
Yeah.
So that's really it for me. I get what you mean, too, about the sound effects, how they kind of not interrupt, but annoy
Yeah.
over a period of time. There are certain sound effects that are motifs that come throughout the film, and then you get to the scene where they actually are diegetic and they are taking place.
Like when they're all in the...
They're stomping their feet on the ground.
Beautifully
And
done.
I think that is very well done.
That one is my favorite.
There's just a sense where I feel like there could have been better use for those, or the actual link between those sounds and the themes of the film could have been made even more explicit than they are. Nevertheless, that's a very, very minor gripe. And I just last weekend watched a movie called Come and See, where the sound effects tell like half the story in that film. So that's what I'm walking into this having experienced. So a very, very minor gripe about sound effects, but I don't even think most people will even comment on them anyway outside of this film. Outside of that, though, Christopher Nolan as the director, the helm of this film. This feels like, and I made this comment when we reviewed Little Women, how Greta Gerwig's style disappeared in Little Women. It was very invisible. She really went into into that period piece. She shed a lot of the style that she had in Lady Bird. In my opinion, I think Nolan did the same with this movie. There was a lot of Nolan-esque directing and editing tricks that weren't here, in my opinion.
Such as?
Super fast editing, super fast cutting.
Yeah.
A lot less handheld camera in these scenes, a lot more steady cam. They finally figured out how to put an IMAX camera on the steady cam.
Shout out to my boy Hoyt.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to hurt his shoulders anymore. It's funny because that Wired interview I mentioned before we went on, just like a side tangent, Robert Downey Jr. was like, oh, who's the cinematographer? Nolan's like, Hoyt, Van Hoyma. My favorite cinematographer I ever worked with because he's willing to put an IMAX on his shoulders. And I was like, damn.
That's funny, yeah. He's a big dude, too. He can do it.
Yeah.
He doesn't care. That's so funny. But, yeah, some of those smaller, like, Nolan-esque elements of his style, I think, were absent from this movie in a way that I think enhanced the film because it plays as just a straight biopic all the way through.
Correct, yeah.
It's not necessarily, Nolan's version of a biopic. And if you're, like we said right at the beginning of this, if you're into history or if you're into physics, this is just a good biopic of those subjects.
It helps that he's really...
He himself is into those.
Yeah, he has a very profound respect for those professions.
That's true, too.
Or those,
yes.
Not professions. What is the word I'm looking? Fields. Thank you. Fields of study. So he treats it. It's not, Ridley Scott Robin Hood. I mean, maybe that's a bad example because
Ridley Scott Gladiator.
Yeah, Ridley Scott has really somewhat decent historical dramas, but
yeah. But outside of that, it's still an A for me.
Yeah.
There was
Definitely.
even a moment in the middle of this film where I recognized within myself, I'm enjoying this way more as just a biopic about Oppenheimer and quantum physics than I am as a Christopher Nolan
This is a
film.
really good. It is also just a really good time piece,
Yeah.
historical period piece.
Mhm.
Because it's like, I mean, we were looking at photographs, or at least I was, of what Los Alamos looked like, and I'm like, thank you for hiring a production designer that actually knows how to Google stuff.
Yeah.
It's like 1-to-1. You know,
Mhm.
the uniforms are all pretty well. I mean, I'm sure there's some, nerd armchair historian who's like, actually, that
Yeah.
that medal.
His desk faced
He's wearing the
left.
Medal of Honor. What the hell? It's like, all right, relax. But there are moments. It's just really cool. It's just really cool to watch a good old fashioned historical time drama
Yeah.
with the little Nolan flair, but it's also just legible.
Hmm. Yeah.
Extremely
For
legible,
Nolan.
which I think was my biggest fear, especially going to an IMAX theater.
That's fair.
Was like, am I gonna be having a piece of the puzzle here?
Yeah.
in
Am I going to
real
have a
time?
migraine by the end of this?
But for the most part, no, that didn't happen. So I
All right.
consider this a W for old Chris.
You did good, Nolan.
You did good.
We know you're watching.
All right. Here we get to the third part of our podcast. Oppenheimer,
Oppenheimer.
hero or villain?
American hero. He won the war.
Japanese villain.
How about this? Dune was in the trailers,
Dune was in the trailers.
but is it not? It's not going to get a 2023
We don't
release
know.
anymore. Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah,
we don't know.
It's weird. Weird times.
All right. Last piece I'll say. One of the trailers was for a movie called The Creator.
Yes. Let's talk about that.
So have you ever seen the movie Akira?
No, but you always reference it.
I've always
to me.
referenced it.
But it's one of the most influential. I mean, Kanye West was influenced by this.
Yeah.
It's a anime.
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct. If somebody told you the plot to Akira, which was about telekinetic children, and you never saw the movie, I feel like that's what you would write.
Yeah.
It's like, it is the most. Can I do an adaptation of Akira? No. All right. We have Akira at home.
I was getting a lot of Looper vibes. Did you ever watch Looper?
I've never seen
With
Looper.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt?
It gave me. I know he's in it, but I had never seen it. No. But it
It's a
reminded you of that?
similar thing where it's so you have to kill a kid,
Mm.
and I won't spoil it because it's a pretty good ending. Pretty good science fiction.
Goes
piece.
back in time or goes forward in
Um,
time.
Well, the thing is there's this
They're
thing where
hitmen and they send them.
they send them
forward
back in time,
Yeah.
and they have to kill him. But it's Bruce Willis is actually Joseph Gordon-Levitt
That-
from
that
the
I knew,
future,
yeah.
and then Bruce Willis gets out and tries to kill the
Mhm.
kid.
I saw the CinemaSins
Yeah,
video.
yeah, yeah. Okay, fair enough. I was getting those vibes from it. I was like, this is Looper, and like, funny
Like
enough,
District
I was
9.
thinking that and Rogue One.
Yeah.
But it's funny because it's Gareth
directed
Edwards.
by- yeah.
So I was like, oh, this is just Looper, Rogue One, District 9,
Mhm.
all conglomerated.
Yeah.
You interested in it?
You know, no.
Okay.
I immediately, when the trailer ended, I was like, man, they just make flops for free these days, don't they? But it's like,
Yeah.
you know for a fact that the second production ended and then the entire internet blew up over AI art, they were like, we did it, boys. We are Oppenheimer. We have become
I
death.
mean, it's Terminator 2
Yeah,
all over
it-
again.
it's-
It's literally Terminator 2.
I mean, you don't even have to know anything about AI art to have written a film like that anyway to
Yeah.
predict that was going to be an issue. But nevertheless, just it's one of those where sometimes you watch a film and you're like, oh, this feels like it was influenced by this. And sometimes you go into a film, you just know they were influenced by this. You can't deny it. It's a
Not
hodgepodge.
even an influence. It's just like a straight copy paste.
Yeah,
kind of
pretty
vibes,
much. Yeah.
Right? It's I don't know.
Bit much. Bit
I
much.
was interested in it when I heard about it because I was like, I like Rogue One. I like Gareth
Mhm.
Edwards, however much directing he did in that movie. But then after watching this, I saw the poster and I was like, oh, that's interesting. John David Washington. I talked about how I like John
Mhm.
David Washington as an action star.
Good to
future
see
action
him.
Star.
Mhm.
But then actually watching the trailer, I was interested until I saw the kid. And then I was like, this is fucking Looper. Like,
Yeah, and I watched it and I was like,
I've
this
seen-
is just Akira.
I've seen this movie like 60 times already.
That's
like
funny.
I don't need to watch this at
Mhm.
all. Maybe it'll be one of those like on Netflix, HBO kind of vibes where it's Friday night and I'm bored and it's just like let's just watch a. Nah, I don't even think I would do that. Never mind. I take that back.
That's one of those things too, where I'm like, this would have to. If somebody said this is Akira better than Akira, I would watch this movie. But the fact that it rips it off so greatly, I'm like, you can't copy respect like that, man. You
Yeah.
can't just redo it.
It's
you
weird.
know?
It's weird.
So
What other
can-
trailers were in this one?
There was The Exorcist coming back from the dead, pun intended.
I didn't know that was gonna be a thing. And then
Uh,
I heard the first keynotes and I was like, nice.
I
I
think.
mean, not nice because I don't care about horror movies, but
The Exorcist is a fantastic film in my opinion.
yeah,
But
I need to watch it.
there have been sequels made as well,
Yeah,
which some have said are good. I've heard are not
they're
good.
doing a Halloween where it's like 15 different continuities.
Yeah. In my opinion, if you watch the first Exorcist, you're set. Who cares about the other ones, honestly,
Yeah.
in my opinion. And then there was also a trailer for
The Denzel Washington.
Denzel Washington Equalizer, E3.
E3.
Which, he's still kicking, man, you know?
Love Denzel.
Love Denzel.
I love Denzel.
We love Denzel at this podcast.
I will not watch Equalizer 3, but I love Denzel.
I will not watch it out of spite because they didn't call it E3.
It is cool that they brought Dakota Fanning back. It's a little like Man on Fire
Yeah, yeah.
reunion.
appreciate
By the
those.
way, Man on Fire, first role I think of when I think of Denzel.
Really?
Most iconic role. Second would be Remember the Titans.
I don't even remember him in Remember the Titans, and maybe I just haven't seen that movie in
I was
forever.
gonna say he's the head coach.
That's true. Yeah. No, I watched that film when I was in high school, and I haven't seen it since. I literally don't think about. That's interesting.
And Flight.
I was gonna say Flight is the first
Flight's
one that
a
comes
really
to my
good
mind
movie.
too.
Yeah.
Nevertheless,
That's
yeah,
like my top 3 Denzels.
we are not gonna see Equalizer 3, but
Meg, are we watching Meg too?
Meg.
I heard the first was actually pretty funny. It's actually pretty entertaining is the word I'll use.
Yeah, entertaining should be the word. No, I'm not gonna see
No,
it.
I won't
Feel
watch
free.
it either. No. I don't really like Jason Statham. I can't understand what he's saying half the time.
That's fair too. Yeah, I just
It's like Snatch. When people were like, you should watch Snatch. I'm like, no, I don't understand anything anyone is saying in any of this movie. Like, you guys find that funny when you can't understand somebody?
yeah, that's
I
fair.
personally don't.
That's what subtitles are for.
Yeah.
If you're speaking English and I need subtitles, something is wrong.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, come back next week or even a few days from now,
Yeah.
where we review Man on Fire.
This is now a Denzel Washington podcast?
Yeah, this is now a Denzel Washington
we have
fan cast.
decided that this is the real American Titan.
Real American hero. I was gonna say the Oppenheimer of our time.
All right, last question before we go. Was it justified? Let's get into a historical debate right now.
Was it justified? Building the bomb or dropping the bomb?
Both. Building the bomb.
Building
would
the bomb,
say
I believe
there's
so.
a resounding yes.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
When the entire physics community, except for Einstein, is like, yeah, obviously use our ideas.
Yeah.
Put it into practice.
Well, I mean, he says it in the movie too, where he's like, "We can't trust Germans."
yeah, that's true too.
So it's like it's a necessary evil.
Dropping the bomb, a little less so, I think, at that point. But
Okay.
then again, if you know history of World War II, you had no idea what Japan was going to do,
It's a
how
very
crazy
hot
they were
topic.
going to go. Yeah.
It's a very
There was
big
a
debate.
dad, I know you're watching this. Everybody who is not my dad, Operation Downfall. There was a plan set in place if they weren't going to drop the bomb. They did anyway. History is written, so
It is what it is.
It
That's
is
the
what
way
it
I look
is.
at it. I'll say this though, and this is both morbid and also fascinating to me. The planned invasion of Japan was experts or officials predicted that there were going to be so many casualties that they printed a buttload of Purple Hearts to be commissioned to soldiers who would eventually, either get injured or die in the operation. We are, at least as of, I think our Dub fact checked this like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But we are still using those Purple Hearts to this day, 80 something years later.
that's crazy, man.
So
That's like when one team wins the Super Bowl and they're like, oh, the other team was like, all right, throw all those hats away.
Yeah.
Or just
yeah.
sell them.
We still, and again, I haven't fact checked this in a while.
That makes sense,
but
though. Yeah, that's crazy.
we are still using those Purple Hearts for active soldiers, actually active military members, active servicemen, I guess I should say.
Wow.
But
Crazy,
that's the way
man.
I look at it.
That's crazy. Yeah.
So yeah, somebody was gonna.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's the way I look at it.
This movie does a good enough job, though. Oppenheimer
It's a very good philosophical drama as well.
does a good enough job of exploring the way in which having dropped the bomb, the different perspectives individual characters have from not just Oppenheimer and the other scientists, but the president of the United States and a bunch of other just secretary staff people around the White House, just how people individually felt the bomb was either justified or not.
Because the bomb is more of an intimidation factor.
Mhm.
The fire bombs of Tokyo, which happened, I think, a couple months prior
Yeah.
to the nukes.
And they bring that up, too, in the
yeah,
movie as well.
Killed way more people.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody ever talks about those.
Mm-hmm.
But the nukes were just like, or the atomic bombs, I should say, were just to like, yo, we literally harness the power of the sun.
Yeah.
We can do it again. Oh, wait, we're going to do it again. We can keep doing it. So, I don't know. The way I look at it was just an intimidation thing. But, that was the 40s. This is 2023. So,
Mm-hmm. And now we have the thermonuclear bombs.
yeah.
So
Who was right, who was wrong in a way,
feel
right?
intimidated by that.
Anyways, leave a comment. Tell me how you feel about Oppenheimer.
Leave a comment. Do you think dropping the bomb is justified?
Was dropping the bomb just started? It started a debate in the comments. We gave you both sides of the argument.
Yeah. LMAO. That's funny.
Anyways, all right. Well, that was Oppenheimer. Good movie. Go watch it, please. We're gonna give you Barbie in a couple days. You won't have to wait a whole week. As soon as we watch it,
Yeah.
we'll have that out. So, thank you guys again. Leave a like and comment if
Subscribe, hit the bell.
yeah, you know how to do it.
Mhm.
All right, we're out. Not on freaking Sirius XM.
You guys really shouldn't have let me drink before this.
Oh god, this is gonna be a long episode. You gonna keep going, or should I just take it?
I'm assuming you're gonna actually start. This is all for editing, Isaac.
All right. No, I'm keeping that in. We're keeping that in.
Oh, are we? Oh well.
It makes us look more personable.
Oh, okay, cool,
Yeah,
cool.
you
Got to
know-
get the
you-
numbers.
You know
out.
how
Yeah,
you
yeah,
complain
yeah.
that we don't look personable?
I never once said that.
Anyways.
They put words in my mouth.
Welcome to Hit Play. We are the Hit Players. Connor, you are the honorary Hit Player.
Have you been saying that?
Yeah, I say it every episode. You can tell he doesn't watch the episodes.
You guys haven't covered anything that I've watched recently, and the only ones that I have, I've been on.
All right. We forgive you. We forgive you. Even though I don't know why we keep bringing you on.
I don't either. None of you requested this.
Actually, that's not true. James's dad loves it when you're on.
Wait, really? Oh, dude, shout out to James's dad. What's his name? Mark. Hey, Mark.
Shout out, Mr. Mark.
Appreciate you.
Anyways, we were here as part of our two-parter of the Barbenheimer experience. Connor did not watch Oppenheimer prior to recording.
They didn't invite me.
so we
Also, I
did
was
it.
busy.
Yeah, but he was able to join us for Barbie, which some would argue is the more important event.
I think that me being here will make this part much better.
We are, anyways, we're here. We decided to halfway through editing, aka I was taking a shower, that I decided we're just going to merge the two episodes together into one. Because why not? In the spirit of Barbenheimer, we're going full throttle.
Is that what we're calling it?
Sure, I don't know.
Okay.
Anyways,
Any
so we
takes,
just watched
James?
Barbie, gentlemen.
We did, yeah. A couple hours ago.
Keeping in the hit play spirit, these are fresh takes, hot off the press.
What do you mean keeping the spirit? You guys are late half the time.
Anyways, moving right along here. Connor,
Yes.
as the honorary member, you have the distinct honor of answering this question first. Your expectations heading into this movie, and were your expectations met? No spoilers, obviously.
Right.
As
No
of
spoilers.
right now.
No spoilers. Going in, I had no expectations. I didn't know anything about this film. I thought it was going to be a bit. That we were all going to go as buddies, and then drink afterwards because we had nothing else to do on a Saturday.
We really should have done the opposite.
We really should have, yeah.
Looking back on it, we kind of messed up on that one.
But coming out of it, I really enjoyed this film, and I know they're about to bash the crap out of this,
No, don't do that.
but I
You're gonna
loved it.
bury. You can't bury us like that. All right, you can't
Great
do that.
movie. Anyway, go on. Defend yourself.
What? Okay, so you went in with no expectations.
Mm-hmm.
What about it made it enjoyable for you?
There was a plot, and I recognize as I say that.
I was gonna say movies have plots.
Yeah, movies have plots.
That's a thing.
But let's be honest. Did we expect there to be a plot for this film?
I mean, I have my answer for that. James, you want to answer that?
James?
Yeah, of course.
I was gonna say because you can tell he didn't watch the Greta Gerwig podcast.
I told you I don't watch the stuff that I don't understand.
Yeah, that's fair. But we did mention prior or at the end of the Greta podcast what we thought this movie was gonna be, which I think for me personally it did hit upon. It didn't go about it in the most the best way, I believe, but that's a discussion for like 5 minutes from now.
Yeah, we'll get there.
But James, your opening remarks to the jury, because you were actually excited for this movie. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't want to say excited, but you wanted to go watch it.
Mhm.
I'll say better choice of words.
I have the dissenting opinion here. But I have also been incredibly consistent that my expectation was I wanted this to be like just a normal kids film.
Yeah.
I didn't want this to go in any other direction other than just be a film that that markets a product.
We kind of wanted it to be like the Lego movie.
Yeah.
In a way, right? I think that
Yeah.
was our best comparison for it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So imagine my shock.
Yeah.
And what about you? Restate for the audience what your expectation was going into.
Yeah,
this
I
film.
did not want to go watch this at all. I
That's
was
true.
very anti. I want to watch this. I like Greta Gerwig as a filmmaker. I respect her a lot more. I even came away from watching the two movies with more appreciation for her.
Mm-hmm.
But I was just like, Barbie, no. I already know what this movie's going to be about. I know it's going to be this heavy-handed message. I know what it's going to be. It's like, I personally, that's not my flavor. That's not my cup of tea. And I was not shocked when I, the first 20 minutes, and I'm like, this is exactly what I expected.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little more than what I was expecting, which was negative, in my opinion. But it's funny. It is very funny. I'll say that much. Yeah. And how much I liked it. But, yeah, it just... it was rough to get through. For me personally.
Yeah, I will admit, at least in hindsight, but I knew this the whole time, that I thought it would be fun to review this film before the whole Barbenheimer thing happened.
Yeah.
I just thought that would be interesting to see and watch just because it's funny to review something like that. I did that knowing that that was just going to be the plan and the idea, that neither of us would see this film of our own volition if there was no other reason to see it other than record a review of it.
And I will say, as somebody behind the scenes, getting to sit in between these two during this movie was hilarious because this one was stone-faced the entire time. And there's several scenes where Isaac is bashing his head into the back of his chair. And that was pretty great.
But I didn't like this film for a different reason, though. Like you could make arguments about the themes in this film, but that wasn't what bothered me as much as it was just the plot itself was just not what my expectation was going into it. I just wanted it to just be like A to B kids film with just like, on the level of like a Minions movie,
Hey, that film was good.
Yeah, and I probably would have liked this film more if it did that.
Yeah.
It's
It's weird, too, because prior to the actually it coming out, or it showing, is Haunted Mansion, Trolls,
all
Teenage
the
Mutant Ninja
trailers
Turtles,
are kids movies.
and there's one more we're missing. What was the other one?
The
Blue Beetle.
Blue Beetle and the Color Purple.
And the Color Purple,
Yeah, another
which
Disney
are
movie.
all like lighthearted, like kids can go watch these movies. Blue Beetle's obviously there because of Warner, but the other four, it's just like these are movies that we can take our kids to.
Yeah.
So when I saw that, I was like, I actually had hopes, like, oh, this is gonna be another kids movie.
Yeah.
Like, you don't show freaking, I don't know, like.
You don't show the Exorcist
You don't
trailer.
show Minions. yeah, you don't show Minions before you go and watch Nope or something like that. You know?
It was the duck movie, the migration movie. That was the other one, the migration film with the ducks. That was it. Yeah.
Mhm.
I knew we were forgetting one of them.
That one was super weird.
I knew we can have this back.
The overarching thematic content of this film can exist in a kids movie, and most kids movies have very heavy-handed
Yes.
messages in that same way. So that I totally like. I didn't even have expectations about that. That was just kind of intuitive to me. But the actual story of this film and the characters were a lot worse than I thought that they could even have been.
I'm just not a fan because we have seen Greta have such finesse when it comes to her themes at times, right? Like she's very, even though she is the panic, or what is it, the manic pixie dream girl.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, all right, how much more of this can we do? I was kind of just expecting like a layer of subtlety in the way she approached her themes. But when it's literally the first 10 minutes and it's like, men are evil.
Not even. It was the first like 3.
I'm kind of like, which by the way, the actual theme, it needs to exist in movies.
Yeah.
I understand it. It doesn't pertain to me, even though I do feel called out at times, especially there's like a scene
We'll
or
get
two
there.
where I'm like,
There was one scene where I can tell it was aimed
I wore
directly
it-
at Isaac.
I wore it with pride.
Yeah. It was pretty great, not gonna lie. Oh,
I wore it with pride.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't know. If we're going to pretend this is a grown up movie, I feel like, especially with the level of craftsmanship we've seen Greta have, there needs to be some kind of subtlety to it. And when, you're getting hit in the head and the hammer for 114 minutes,
yeah.
it's kind of like, okay. That's where I land.
Yeah, I think going into this, if you know that this movie is extremely chaotic, very messy, all over the place,
To a degree.
like just a massive scatter of just random points with just very thin red line connecting them.
Yeah.
If you know that going into it, you might digest it a little bit better, I think. Because even when the movie was over, I think the general vibe was just, that was a funny ending.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was like, nobody even could talk about anything that came before because how do you even sort that out right away? It just goes in so many different places. But
It's like, it's the one thing that one of our professors always told us was, no matter how the movie goes, as long as you nail the ending,
yeah,
that's what you're remembered for the most.
that's funny.
It is.
We saw that in effect
this
today.
is like one of the best examples of it.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, as a casual viewer who, like, I haven't seen this director's other films. Obviously, I didn't watch that podcast episode because it was stuff that I didn't understand. I mean, I did watch it for the views. I always watch you guys for the views.
Sure.
But I didn't actually pay attention. If you were just a casual moviegoer, just like, I'm just here to spend way too much money on popcorn and way too much money on a ticket to watch,
The real thing when you talk about is the rising cost of concessions.
to watch 2 hours of mindless entertainment. Boy, howdy, does the Barbie movie hit.
It's funny.
It is
I'll give
incredibly
that.
funny.
There were actual moments where I laughed.
Yeah, and that's really hard for him. I don't know if you guys are aware of this.
Okay, relax. 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 I was gonna say my top 10. Half of it is just filled with comedies.
See, I watched that one.
I mean, coming of age movies are my favorite genre, and those are all comedies.
Yeah, it definitely is filled to the absolute brim with jokes. Some might say detrimentally.
Which I
but-
wouldn't agree with because it's funny.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Yeah, but like, and this is a conversation that I've had with this one frequently.
Talking about you like he's a disappointed mom.
Well, I am. Of just like the idea that like not all stories need to be like avant-garde, hiding their like what they're going for behind smoke and mirrors and making me like, oh, that's the theme in the end. Sometimes it's okay to just be like, I'm here to just consume a piece of media and realize that there's a story about it after getting bashed in the head for 2 hours.
Absolutely. But when the director is
It's
one of
also
the most
funny
important
too
directors of the 2020s
because like
and the biggest, hottest name. Like, our complaint isn't with the movie, it's ourselves. Or at least my complaint. It's, I think Greta can do so much more. It's the same problem that we have with in Jordan Peele's Nope. Is like, funny enough, we were like, I hope it's not her Nope.
Yeah.
It feels exactly like her Nope because we know
I was right.
we know right. We know what can be good and we know what they can do at their very absolute peak. And it just feels like this is not the peak, which is why I think for us, that's why we're so disappointed in it.
It's also funny too because like I wanted this film to be super straightforward, and it is such a chaotic mess that I'm like, if this wasn't even the Barbie movie, I probably would have been perfectly fine with it. But the fact that I specifically was like, yeah, if Oppenheimer was like this, I would have been like, oh, that's Nolan. You know, that's what he does.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're fine. All right, so outside of the story itself, acting, Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything to add besides. That's why I looked dead in the camera and gave 2 thumbs up because they did a really good job.
Yeah.
For what the plot is, I feel like Margaret Robbie really like knocked it out of the park almost. There was a lot more emoting that she did than I expected for various parts. Like, I feel like she put a lot more into this role than needed to be put into the role.
Oh yeah, well, that's just. I mean, Margot Robbie's been.
Yeah,
on,
that's just kind of
she's
her.
been
Yeah.
on a bender since 2013.
You know, like, so I mean, I respect it, but there were definitely a couple moments where I'm like, you're really like giving it your all for something that doesn't deserve it. But I think everybody did great. Michael Cera's character stole the movie, IMO.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
And not just because I'm biased and like Michael Cera.
We hadn't seen Michael Cera in quite a while. It's been a minute.
I would say he hasn't been in anything big recently.
Been in a hot second. I feel like he peaked with Superbad and then just kind of like.
No, okay.
He went Superbad and Juno, I think, back to back, and it was just.
Oh god, Juno was a good film.
Then he plateaued with "This Is the End" for like 5 minutes.
I'll say, to be fair, there's not a lot I feel like in modern media where you want his character because he kind of plays the same dude a lot.
Yeah.
So I can't think of anything where I'm like, ah, yes, he'd be
he's
good
really
fit.
good at
modern.
that character.
He is absolutely amazing at that character. But yeah, I really enjoyed the acting in this film. I don't have much to say about like how they did it because casual
Neither do
watchman.
we weren't there.
True. James, anything you have to say?
Michael Cera plays Alan. Best character in the film, in my opinion. Yep. Even better than Ken. Yep. I feel like the amount of attention Ryan Gosling has been getting as Ken.
That's a good question. There's a lot of Kens.
The attention Ryan Gosling specifically has been getting.
Stereotypical Ken.
Yeah.
What is it? Beach Ken.
He's Beach Ken.
Beach Ken. Yeah, Beach Ken.
Undeserved win compared to Michael Cera in this movie. Sure. Best character, Alan. Totally.
It definitely did feel that he was on vacation in this movie, Ryan Gosling, because he just felt like it was just Ryan Gosling.
Yeah,
to a degree. Like I could see Ryan Gosling being like, "What?" Just in real life for no reason. I don't know.
Kate McKinnon is in this as well. She's good in supporting roles. She plays Weird Barbie.
I was wondering who that was. I recognize it.
Very good.
I don't like her.
No?
I just don't like her as an actress.
Oh, that's understandable. I thought she did well.
I think she's just too out there. At least with the roles she takes.
I mean, she plays a character called Weird Barbie.
Yeah.
I think she was pretty fine for that. Yeah. And then Will Ferrell was the other person who...
It's nice to see Will Ferrell in something that's funny again.
Yeah.
Finally nice that he's no longer taking writing credit for anything. And
actually,
just letting people write.
To be said, if I had a dollar for every time that he's been in a toy-based movie as the corporate villain, I have $2, which is really weird.
Which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happened twice.
It's very concerning. Because when he shows up, it was definitely like I was like, what? It's the exact thought. I was like, wow, he really plays one role in these kids movies. Well, kids movies.
Yeah.
The other weird. That's not a spoiler.
What?
John Cena.
It's kind of Guy Pearce. I'll edit that out. Guy Pearce.
That's why I said. I
Sorry.
should have moved the mic away.
That's fine. Guy Pearce.
So, I'm just gonna.
No. Keep going. Keep going. Just say Guy Pearce.
Just say
and then
Guy
what
Pearce?
you were gonna say. Yeah.
Okay. Well, just I didn't expect to see him either. He just kind of shows up for
Yeah.
a couple scenes and he's just there.
It's a good appearance by him.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah,
Did you
yeah.
actually see him though? Who knows?
Well, now they're gonna know who you're talking about.
No, they don't. They don't know. Nobody knows anything. It's called movie magic. Connor.
You're right,
You
you're
can
right,
edit anything.
Yeah. I would say that his time in this movie was not now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that's really all I got.
Shout out to our main girl, Dalai Lama. Dua Lipa.
Dalai Lama?
That's what I like to call her.
I have to hang out with these guys, IRL. You guys, you got it nice. They just, yeah.
I'm keeping that one in. That's what I call it.
Well, everything else I have to say about this film is spoiler related.
Yeah.
So we wrap this up.
Give it a
Non-spoiler
ranking,
review.
Non-spoiler ranking. right now.
Non-spoiler ranking. C.
I'd give it a C.
Mm-hmm.
Because even if you look at it as just a comedy, there are comedies that do it better. Like,
The Lego Movie.
I would even say like 21 Jump Street.
Fair.
With a
Yeah. Yeah.
theme that is well hidden behind the metaphors. 21 Jump Street's like the goat stand. Not metaphor. What's the correct word? Like, I don't know. Commentary, I guess. Social commentary.
Social
there you go.
commentary is what you're looking for, yeah. I'd give it like a B. Again, as a casual viewer, I'm like, it was really fun. I was laughing the entire time. I came out and I was like, this was a lot better than I expected, but I didn't expect anything to begin with. And just, yeah, if you're not somebody who's wants to just like have some hidden message weaved in, you just want like a good piece of
Entertainment.
adequate social commentary in your entertainment, it does its job. I feel like it's a solid middle ground, yeah. But like a little bit higher because just it's funny. It's really funny. It's
Yeah.
genuinely there's some jokes in there that are really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Though the worst mistake the theme in this film does is that it's nothing that hasn't been said before.
That's. It's also.
But for some reason, it needs to keep being said because we suck
well,
as a
it's all
human
the
race.
60-year-old boomers. Blame them. Don't blame me.
Well, I'm putting it back, but.
All right, so we're gonna start spoiling the actual plot of
Yes,
this movie.
go watch this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say go watch this movie.
Yeah. I mean, it's popular enough.
Go support original filmmaking.
Support Greta Gerwig. That's what
Yeah,
I think is
sure.
way more
Sure.
important
Yeah,
because
yeah.
she is a great director.
Yes.
Yeah, support writers
Support actors.
and actors. All right. Yeah.
Spoiler time. So it's crazy that Ken just like killed Dumbledore, right?
So spoiler time. Do neither of you know what a gynecologist is?
Huh?
What do you mean?
Because okay, so the last sequence, because we're on spoilers now, right?
Yeah.
The last scene is Barbie working up the courage to go to a gynecologist appointment. I was losing my mind laughing because
Yeah, it
that's
was
really
funny.
funny. But you were like, "What?" So I was like, "Do you know what a gynecologist?"
No, I said what because I was like, I just want to go home.
Oh, you just want to explain? Okay, because like there was
It's funny.
like,
No,
like,
it's genuinely funny.
the
But I was
way-
just like, I just want to go home.
the way that he reacted. I was like,
It's because it came out of nowhere. It legit came out of. That's what the what was. So I was just like,
"What was the other thing that I told you I would explain?"
I don't know. There was some word that
There
somebody
was some.
said.
Oh, it was superfluous.
Yeah.
Yeah, Isaac doesn't know what superfluous means.
I mean, does
it's
anybody-
unnecessary
Why
just
can't they
extra.
say unnecessary?
it's a-
That is superfluous.
because it's a big
Screenwriting
word.
101. If the major of your audience doesn't know the word, don't use the word.
Because it was designed to make them look smart. God, get on it. There's deep underlying themes of this movie. Isaac, I need you to get it.
If anything, just be pretentious using a word that nobody uses in day-to-day conversation.
So the dialogue in
You're
this,
pretentious.
I don't want to hear that from you.
so the dialogue in this movie was terrible.
True.
Just like almost every single line that somebody says. Like it legitimately feels like they wrote this film on the fly.
It doesn't even feel like they're talking to each other.
Yeah.
At some points.
It doesn't even feel like they're looking at each other
Yeah.
when they cut back and forth. There are so many scenes where characters greet each other and their eye level, like their eye line
Greta,
isn't even
where is your
matched up.
script supervisor?
They either
It's filmmaking 101.
they either did reshoots or they were trying to make it like really off-putting on purpose, but there is nothing in the film that I feel like they would do it that way for. Yeah, go ahead.
So, crackpot theory is that, and I had an inkling of this when I was watching it, is that the entire thing was designed to be as if, like, you were a child playing with your Barbie dolls.
Yeah.
Because, like James was saying, the writing was, like, the dialogue wasn't great. But if you're a 6-year-old girl just playing with your dolls, you're not going to have Oscar-winning writing. You know, like they're not level and stuff. I mean, did you ever, when you were playing with your Legos, your Lego cars over here, did you ever, like, put them line up? Or you're like, you know? Now, like I said, crackpot, I think it was probably just not, like, you know, like you're saying, reshoots, or just they weren't paying as much attention. But I like to think to make it seem like a better film in my eyes, because I wanted to enjoy this movie, and I enjoy commenting happy about it while you two crap on it.
Well, you're also giving them the benefit of the doubt by doing that anyway. Because
It's called lazy. It's called lazy screenwriting.
Because I say that this movie is a mess and chaotic. Turns out that was intentional. Greta wrote this film to be messy and chaotic. She wanted it to be contradictory. She wanted the film to contradict itself. She wanted the film to be like anarchistic, right?
Okay.
But it's Barbie.
Yeah.
That was 100% the exact opposite of what I wanted this movie to be. And
Yeah.
that is why I am so disappointed in this film. Because I was like, just give me one of the Trolls films, but with Barbies. And they and they, sure enough, she did Barbie A24. And I was like, that's
Barbie A24.
not what I wanted.
That's
I understood that reference.
oh, that's funny. Barbie A24. Man, what would that be like?
I just watched it.
It would have Saoirse Ronan and Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah, right,
in it,
yeah,
is what it
yeah.
would have.
Yeah.
But that is for me 100% the biggest disappointment in this entire film, because I wanted to see this film, but I didn't want it to be like this. And in terms of the dialogue, yes, it makes sense, the idea that they would talk in the way that a 6-year-old would talk, because there are a lot of ideas and theories that the characters struggle to explain. It makes sense because a 6-year-old wouldn't know anything about that.
No, it doesn't work.
Yeah, it just doesn't work though.
It's like, you know what this is exactly like when Scorsese said that all the continuity errors in Wolf of Wall Street were because Jordan's on drugs.
Yeah.
It's like, no, my guy, your script supervisor was just not
Yeah.
working. It's like, you can say that, but after the fact of making the movie, it doesn't work. It does not work.
and to be fair, James, I made that comment. I didn't say that it made the movie better. It's just that it's the only way that I can justify it in universe explanation. Oh,
It also does a thing where the characters constantly go back and forth, which, James, you love.
oh, dude, yeah.
No, like the actual physical going back and forth.
Yeah.
Which...
Oh, speaking of spoilers, because I'm looking at the back of the book, Blood Meridian reference at the start of the movie. Good stuff.
Shut up. No, it's not.
But James, you turned and said to me, "Oh, it's a Blood Meridian reference."
I mean, they bring up Proust at one point. Maybe they were trying to intentionally reference McCarthy as well. All right, so 100% my biggest issues was just the dialogue and the story itself, because, like you said, there are so many dead ends in this story where the characters go in one direction and immediately have to turn around, and then that direction is a dead end and they immediately have to turn back around. And I feel like there is the story itself of this film could have been a lot more cohesive and less messy and chaotic. Not just to make it a kids film, you can still keep all the dialogue and have the actual, direction of action move in a straight line. You're not constantly having to go back. There's a scene where two characters go to Barbie World, realize it's taken over by men, immediately leave Barbie World, and then immediately have to go back to Barbie World. I'm like,
Also, Will Ferrell is like non-existent for
his
all of
entire
this movie.
story. Yeah.
What did he serve?
He was there for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah.
Just there.
He did
Yeah.
nothing in the course of this film other than just be funny.
He had like 2 lines of dialogue that
Yeah.
were funny, and the rest was like, I mean, it's Will Ferrell, obviously. So
Yeah.
it's, he's just funny. He's just funny just looking at him.
Mhm.
But I don't know.
That was just my biggest pet peeve
It's a
in this film.
massive
Is
miss,
just, it was,
especially with the amount of talent
Mhm.
they had.
Mhm. Well, the talent in Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach
Yeah.
writing and directing this movie.
Yeah.
I'm like,
It's like we have seen you guys write some of the best scenes of dialogue. Like
Yeah.
the Florence Pugh scene when she's talking to Timothy Chalamet and going on that whole like women
Yeah.
on anything. Beautifully written. Even though that was written like 20 minutes before they started rolling the camera.
yeah.
Beautifully written. And then when American Ferrera gives her speech, which is basically the same thing, just set in Barbie world instead of
Yeah.
1840s Paris. It's like
And then the best thing about
This
that
is
speech
nothing
too,
new.
the best thing about that speech is it ends with, "But I don't know."
yeah.
And I'm sitting here like, then cut that out of the script.
All right, to play devil's advocate, that's just the
Please do.
that's the very human angle to it, though. That's the whole like
Yeah, sure,
themology of it. Is that they're arguing this point about oppression in women and being your own person and not being constrained to this box, which I feel like would have worked a lot better if the box was around for longer than 5 minutes.
The box was a cool bit.
It was, and I was really excited to see what they're doing because at that
Yeah.
point I was already like, oh yeah, this is the whole thing about breaking out of that, not being constrained to like
Yeah.
what you're supposed to be kind of thing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I'm like, again, heavy-handed,
It's
but
stuff
it's fine.
like that.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about
like-
when I say symbolism
Yeah,
and hidden meanings. It's stuff like that I'm so pointing at. Where I'm like, we need more of that and less of Barbie looking at Ken and being like, patriarchy is the evil of just society. It's like, I know the patriarchy. I'm sorry for being a man, but like,
Okay, but
we can do better about layering that,
can we talk about the lot of male empowerment sequences? Really enjoyed Ken being a patriarchal psychopath.
That was funny.
It's a great bit.
Him busting out his toxic masculinity. That was pretty funny.
The women abusing the fact that all men are evil to unbrainwash is pretty great too. Just like as we were talking on the car ride home, the like just be bad at sports bit, quality, good stuff. That's how you
That's
write
what I'm
good.
saying. There
That's
are
how you write
moments-
good social commentary
there are
humor.
moments where it's like, okay, yes, I have done that. There is
Or,
an actual.
Yeah.
But to be fair, I'm not as bad as that. I'm not as bad as that. To you, I am because.
Well,
you're-
yeah, because we're like that to each other. Yeah, that's what you are when you're a couple.
But like, when people are like, "What's your favorite movie?" I'm like, "The Godfather, Godfather 2." They're like, "Oh, cool, never seen it." I'm like, "You should."
Yeah,
Just leave it at that.
whole sequence. You
I'm
have them
never
explain
like,
The
"Oh, you
Godfather."
haven't seen it? I'm gonna explain it to you." It's like, no, just go watch it.
But have one problem with the way the black
Except
holes
for
are
you,
portrayed in
because
the movie.
you don't watch movies.
I mean, like the kind of guy that the film is making fun of is so specific and only really exists on like the deepest corners of the
It
internet.
definitely feels
that-
60s boomers
Yeah.
types of people. Yeah.
It's like you just see people on TikTok and you're like, this is what every person is like, I guess then.
Yeah.
So I have people who are going online and saying that this movie is like anti-man or something like that. Just probably didn't even watch the movie with their eyes open. It's just dumb.
No, I agree. Again, I don't have problems with the message. It's how the message is
Yeah.
conveyed. I don't want to like make it seem like I hate
And if
I
anything,
hate women or
like,
something.
as much as I'm like joking about patriarchy, like good
Yeah,
bit.
yeah.
I feel like there was actually like a mild male empowerment message of just like,
Yeah.
you can be a really big macho cool dude and not be an asshole to women.
That's what I thought the ending.
know what
The
it was?
ending was gonna be when they're reinstating the Constitution or whatever, and the Barbies are taking over. There's a scene where Margot's like looking around, like, and I was like, oh, this would be a perfect time to be like, no, men
Like,
and women
let's
can
get
work-
Alan in here.
Men and women, men and women can work together, and then we'll live both in harmony. I'm like, perfect.
But that's not
Great
right for
ending.
Barbie world.
And then when they're like, hey, we want a Supreme Court justice, it's like, no, you're gonna be an intern. I'm like, well, what the fuck?
That's not right for Barbie world.
Although the fact that
But now I'm just getting mad
statement
about toys.
was
so it's
was
like, yeah.
followed up with eventually men in the Barbie world would have as
Yeah.
much power as women in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
real world. That was a good bit.
Yeah.
And again, nice little like
Yeah.
would be a really good piece of like social commentary if the rest of the movie was actually subtle.
Yeah, exactly.
But that on top of everything else, you're just like, all right, we get it.
yeah,
But what's funny too is that you can't really complain about this movie saying that like, oh, you can't be masculine in a very masculine sense and be nice to women, because that's Alan. He beats up like 50 dudes at one point, and he's on
the
Barbie's
goat.
side
He's
the
the
entire
goat.
time, and yet that is never explored or explained. So they just
That's what
completely
I'm
dropped the
saying.
ball on it.
It's stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Mans is literally as gay coded comes, and they don't play with it at all. I do like this film, but there's a couple things they dropped the ball on. Like, yeah, like as
Yeah.
James said, like
Yeah,
Alan would have been a great place to put in like a mild, like, hey, you can also be super gay and also
he's
be
not
like
gay.
he was, as like
He
I
has
said,
a Barbie.
like I said, as gay coded as you can get without being outright saying, hey, I enjoy men. But they, you know, it could have been a good point for that. But also, you know, trying to keep it open for all audiences, et cetera, push it out
it's
to
not
China, that kind of thing.
It's not explicitly said he's gay.
No,
It
but
just leans heavily that way.
it's very,
Yes, sure.
yeah.
Anyways, continue.
Anyway, that was my statement.
Sorry. Okay.
James, here you go.
I also want to say this too. The actual character arc that Barbie goes on in this film is non-existent, or is at least
That was another thing.
so
when
scattered in so many different.
that scene where she's sitting there, I'm like, this is a perfect time for her to be like, women shouldn't be in charge, men shouldn't be in charge. We should work together.
I think the reason why this film felt so like untethered is because when at the end of the film Barbie admits, I don't know what I want, or I don't know what I want to do next. It's like, well, then what was the point of, like, all of the circumstances happened to her. It's screenwriting 101 that your character has to be the impetus of everything.
Yeah.
That they have to have the initiative and
They have agency.
They need agency.
Yeah.
This is a classic example of a story in which the character has no agency whatsoever.
She's very passive.
Literally, she's a doll, so that makes sense, but they don't play into that whatsoever. That is never brought up.
Well, okay. That to me was her character arc. Was that it was the, and I mean they quite literally say this at the end of the film, where, you know, Barbie can be anything, so it's okay to not know what you want to do. And that to me was the character, because she was the stereotypical Barbie, right? She was as Barbie gets, and the end of the film is like, well, I don't know if I'm supposed to be Barbie, and like that to me is a character arc. It's just it's not a good one with this film.
I think for me, it's a good character arc, but the fact that that's how it ends, like, it feels like you have an entire film where you build up to when a character realizes that they're going to have a character arc, as opposed to having one throughout the course of the film. Like, if she had been questioning that since the beginning of the movie,
She was.
I don't feel, was she?
That was the whole like, oh, I'm having suicidal thoughts.
She's very existentialist. in this-
Existential,
throughout the whole
yeah.
point, yeah.
It's so weird how the film is, like,
I think
only
it's-
really explicit
I think
about it
it's
at
her
the end.
coming to terms with,
Yeah.
I was a blank slate. I don't know how to feel about this. I have no purpose. And then you're like, oh, wait. Purpose is what you make of it. Which is what the
I feel
America
like-
Ferrera character
Yeah.
gives her. Because America Ferrera is like, I'm a mom.
Mm-hmm.
I'm boring. But, like, I find meaning behind my work and my daughter.
I feel like the reason why I struggle to really catch that is because this,
You're not a mom.
I'm not a mom, and also
That was a joke. That
this
wasn't-
film
that wasn't
doesn't
supposed to
really
be
have
demeaning or anything.
like, you know, first, second, third act like structure to this movie. It feels just so like bundled together and just a collection of scenes that it's hard to really track, like,
Yeah.
you know, how her emotions are changing or what she's learning about herself over the course of the film. Because if she starts saying, I don't know what I want to be, and then she ends the film saying, I don't know what I want to be, and it's like, what did you learn along the way? There was no like real ups or downs in her character arc. There was just, oh, I found the mom and her daughter. Oh, I found the Will Ferrell person. Oh, I found Ken is now the patriarch of Barbie Land, or Kendom, or whatever they call it.
Kingdom Land.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Yeah.
All right, so this is actually a movie about nihilism.
In a way, though. Yeah.
All right, so because existentialism and nihilism are different concepts, Connor is no longer allowed back on this podcast ever again.
This is basically Rick and Morty.
Yeah. I'm sorry, James. You're just not smart enough to
I was
understand
gonna
the
say,
Barbie movie.
Greta Gerwig just watched like 5 episodes of Rick and Morty and was like, I figured it out.
Also, yeah, he gets on my case for miss saying different philosophical ways all the time. Even though he doesn't know what he's talking about either. Don't worry about it. He just likes to sound pretentious. Anyway, James, you want to take this back from me?
I try to sound smart. Nobody tries to sound pretentious.
What are you looking at me? I don't know. I'm not getting in the middle. I'm not getting in the middle of this camera.
That's why I believe if you're going to see this film, you should know ahead of time that the story is it just goes places.
Yeah.
And there's really no solid through line. Yes, there are consistent themes, but it's one of those things where characters will say a lot more is said than is shown, which is not always a bad thing, but when it's supposed to be, this internal revelation your character has by the end of the film, but they haven't really done anything or self-reflected enough on that. It just feels like, wet bread by the end of it. Thunderstorm.
I hope it rains.
Anyway,
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. Yeah. It's a weird one. It's really weird.
It's a weird film, yeah.
I feel like
Or continue. You go first. Sorry, you were.
I only had a half thought. You can go if you have something.
Well, I was gonna
else to
say if it wasn't for the Barbenheimer thing.
Okay, that was exactly what I was gonna say.
Okay, cool. Glad we're on the
Great
same.
minds.
You can tell we've been doing this for a while.
You guys hang out too much. You get it.
I mean, we live together.
I feel like
There will literally be moments where I leave my room behind the scenes. Or I'll leave my room right, and then James will be like, "Hey, by the way," and I'll be like, "Holy shit, I was just thinking that."
Anyway, yeah. I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Thoughts?
Would this movie have gotten any traction if it wasn't for Barbenheimer?
Yeah,
Was that the question?
If you
Okay.
knew if Barbenheimer wasn't a thing, like let's say it comes out next week, would you
Probably
have
not.
seen it? Because
I mean,
feel like,
well, okay. I would have gone to see it because you guys were going to see it and
Yeah.
you wanted somebody there.
Not just would you have gone to see it. Do you think it would have a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes?
Well, would it still have a high rating?
yes,
Yes,
I think it would.
I think it would.
It
because
speaks to a demo. Oh, sorry.
yeah,
Continue.
I would say yeah. Well, I was just basically going to say what you were saying. It speaks to a certain demographic. It's a message that while it shouldn't have to be said anymore, it still needs to be said a lot,
Yeah.
and a lot of people resonate with it.
Yeah.
And I mean, modern audiences just like funny movies. I mean, I know you guys
We
like
like
your
funny
I know you guys
movies.
do too, but like you guys like rate high like the deep meaningful stuff. But like
We literally did a whole podcast on Transformers.
but like, I know like a lot of modern people are just like, yeah, I don't know, I just want to like
because
be
we were-
entertained for 2 hours.
Just because we talk about quality art. My favorite movie of all time is The Dark Knight.
I was say, yeah. The first time I was on this podcast, we were talking about Kingdom Hearts, which is not exactly a real award winner.
And I'm not coming at you specifically.
No, I
but
know,
I'm
yeah.
just- I've had people in my life be like, well, you don't like,
No.
just crappy movies. It's like, I do like crappy movies.
And I know you guys do. I'm not like coming at you. I'm just like,
Yeah, no, I get it, I get it.
I just like as a general, like I feel like people enjoy just getting a piece of entertainment just to laugh and have a good time.
Yeah.
And I mean, this movie does that. If you're not looking for anything crazy, then you will get exactly that. You will get your money's worth. Well, maybe not. The popcorn was kind
I'm trying to
of
think of what it would be. I feel like it would be similar to Little Women.
They were pretty
Because
tall.
there's a demographic. No. There's a demographic of moviegoers that Little Women at least really, really resonated with, and it really caught attention. I mean, I think it was nominated for awards.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think this movie would have that same effect in terms of like
Mm-hmm.
a large minority of moviegoers would resonate with this.
Large minority, Little Women, for
I
reference,
should
made almost
say-
$300 million.
I should see it. Yeah, exactly.
not a
I-
little. Little and big income.
But the whole like we might make $150 million opening weekend kind of thing aspect of it, I don't think it would have done it if it wasn't for the
Still would have gotten
Oppenheimer stuff.
I feel like the actual, almost like a structure that this movie has, would have been a lot more detrimental if there wasn't the initial hype building up for Barbenheimer. I think people would have been a lot less forgiving for that.
Yeah.
And not just because, I mean, and that is my only complaint. Like, I have nothing really negative to say about the acting, even about
No.
like the theme of the film or any of the social commentary it has. I expected all of that.
Yeah.
But the film has no structure to its story, and that is, I mean, you're making,
Disappointing.
yeah, for these people.
For who it is.
Yeah.
Right? That's the thing. It's like it's like
You can take the mic.
it's like Taika Waititi coming out with Thor 4. Oh wait.
Now, next question.
Nice.
Do you think that they were aware of this fact that, like, oh, you know, like with Oppenheimer stuff, and they kind of planned the release date around Oppenheimer
No.
with that in mind?
No.
Because I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I doubt it, but you know, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're like, all right, people are gonna watch Oppenheimer. I'm assuming it was a heavy film. You guys haven't put your podcast out, so I can't comment on what
Yeah.
they
It
don't
is
talk about
it's
it.
a heavy film.
So they were like, okay, what if we put out a really goofy, waste of time movie afterwards? People go, oh, I want to watch something that'll cleanse my palate. Go watch the Barbie film.
Well, a lot of it is because this is distributed by Warner, and Nolan famously spurned Warner. So I think
So my
a lot of
statement
it-
stands.
I think a lot of it was just pettiness on Warner's part to be like, we're gonna fucking release this movie because we want to eat into Christopher Nolan's box office, which in a way did the opposite for both movies.
Yeah.
Both movies like immediately skyrocketed their the hype for them, which you know.
But I mean, to be fair, yeah, that
Good
also.
shout out to Warner for once again another incompetent decision.
Yeah.
If that
Well-
was that's just my theory. I
Yeah.
haven't read anything.
I would say
about it.
they could have also been betting on that of just like, oh, people might run
No,
with this
movies
concept.
don't do that. Movies are the opposite actually. They will. There are movie releases where theaters and or studios will be like, we are not releasing a movie within like 6 weeks of this movie. It is a thing. You can go look at articles of, like,
thinking
especially
of it.
with Avengers. All the Avengers movies, it was like, yo, we are taking from when the movie releases up until like July 15th. If you were coming out with one on Memorial Day, it's like July 15th. We're not coming out with a big movie
Makes sense, yeah.
because it's like people are gonna go watch that movie and they're not gonna want to go watch, you know, Mission Impossible 15 or
Right, yeah.
Indiana Jones 14.
Now, if only they could do that with the video game industry.
Which is funny. We talked about that with Oppenheimer, where video games tend to do the opposite.
Yeah.
Where they're like, oh, you're releasing, you know,
Elden Ring.
Elden Ring, or like,
And then Horizon Zero
Doom,
Dawn.
or like, which one was released with Breath of the Wild? The fucking redheaded
out?
with the
No, was she,
the
um,
Megazords?
Yeah, the Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah, there you go.
But that the first one was
It was like a
before,
week before or something
Breath
like
of
that.
the Wild. Oh, you're right. Yeah, because the first one was before Breath of the Wild. The second one was a week before Elden Ring.
Doom and Animal Crossing.
That was a good one. That was it.
It's like,
Oh.
no, we're gonna just go at you. We're not scared of you, unless it's like a Call of Duty or
Yeah.
Madden.
But
or
we can save
FIFA.
that for the Tears of the Kingdom podcast.
Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, that was
Coming soon to a theater
coming
near-
soon to
A table.
whatever you use to watch these episodes. Any last comments?
Watch the movie.
Yeah, go watch it.
Yeah, it's worth the time. It's worth the
Yeah,
money.
Yeah, it's only 100. It's only less than 2 hours.
Yeah, it was like what, an hour 40, something like that.
114 minutes.
Yeah,
so
not-
it's 206. No,
No, that's
156.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very yeah.
Wait. Quick.
Yes, you're right. Yeah. Good use of time. I don't regret any amount of time spent on that film.
No, I don't regret going.
No, regret the popcorn.
Do you regret going? James was like, he regrets going. James
Yeah.
like he just came back from war.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep my hand firmly on the mic stand so James can't take it while we talk good things.
James looks like
Oh.
he just came back from
Yeah.
like Korea or something.
I could think of no greater people to watch this film with because again, while I was watching and having a blast, I was watching these two have mental breakdowns. But yeah, you know, it's worth the time.
I enjoyed myself.
yeah.
I just would never go watch this movie again.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Yeah, I would never see if somebody was like, "Hey, we're gonna watch the Barbie movie as background noise." I'd be like, "Sure, I'm not gonna
Now,
pay attention."
Oppenheimer, I would go see. And
Anyway.
I'm thinking about going and watching it again. By the way, A+ tier for Oppenheimer.
One day removed.
I was thinking about it overnight. Yeah, no, we already rated it. I put it on an A tier. It's getting closer to an S tier.
Well, let's talk about this. Let's close on
Anyways.
this now. Awards for
Awards
either
for both.
Barbie
Yeah,
or
let's do it.
Oppenheimer. What do you think?
Let's start with Barbie. Let's start with Barbie.
Dude, I don't watch the Oscars.
Do you keep up with the Oscars?
No.
Fuck. Okay. Never mind.
You guys do your bit.
Okay, well, let's do this. Let's play this. In your opinion, if you were the Academy Awards, would you nominate them for anything?
Well, I haven't seen Oppenheimer, genius.
You can watch any movie that's come out this past year.
Dude, I don't remember what's come out. Well, hold on. I will say,
We've seen like 5 movies together this year.
God, have we? What did we watch?
I don't know. I'm just making up numbers.
Oh, okay. I was like, I don't think I've seen a whole lot with you guys this year. I feel like in terms of acting alone, Margaret Robbie did way too good of a job for this film. I kind of said it earlier.
Yeah.
So
did say that.
maybe some of that. I don't know if she's in anything else this year. But
I don't think so.
I really enjoyed her performance. The emotional scenes really only had weight because of how well she acted them.
Yes.
Because like James says, it was kind of an incoherent mess. So without how well she did her job, they would look awful. Especially also the sequence where Ken's having his breakdown and he's crying on the bed. She did a really good job of just like concerned, but also low-key disgusted with what's happening in front of her. Yeah, that was really good. Very difficult emotion to cover. Well, James says it will.
Jesus Christ.
I love coming on this podcast and bashing these guys. These are 2 of my greatest friends, by the way. Love hanging out
He's
with
only
them.
saying that because he's liquored up.
Yeah. Not true. The booze has worn off. I started this podcast fairly drunk. I've since worn out.
We had 1 drink, by the way. Disclaimer.
It was like 32 ounces
That's nothing.
for you. Yeah, good film. I don't know what I would really say about Oscar nominations, so I'm just going to hand
Or
it back to
just
James and look
awards.
pretty.
If you were the Connors, let's call them the Connors. That's our own version.
Please
of
don't.
the Oscars.
Let's not. Just hand it to James.
Production and set design almost
Yes.
guaranteed.
For sure.
I think.
Nominations at least.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Um,
I
Most-
would say this: Golden Globe for a comedy, Ryan Gosling. Academy Award, don't think so.
nominee or winning?
Nominee.
Nominee?
Yeah.
I think he would probably get nominated just because the film is popular enough. And they're willing to nominate.
There's only 5
it's a dead-
nominations. And there's going to be a lot of good movies coming out.
That's fair. Potentially. We're banking on Dune for the most part.
Oppenheimer, we're going to trade on it now, but Oppenheimer's probably going to get like at least 3.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fair. For Barbie, I can only really think of production, set design, possibly even original song, but I don't know what else is coming out this year.
There's some good songs. There's the one when Will Ferrell is chasing her. I was actually bopping to it. I don't know what it was. It was like a remix. Oh, it's Mickey, You're So Fine.
Yeah.
But it's Barbie.
Mhm.
And it's like a weird remix of
Yeah.
That was a bop.
That was stuck in my head afterwards.
Yeah. Really good.
That was actually something we didn't talk about, but I forgot about, and it's one of the few things I know how to comment on. Music design in this film was pretty solid.
Yeah.
The song, you know, what else would you call it, James? What is it? Speak, Harding. It wasn't sound design. The sound effects weren't great.
Anyways.
Hey, speaking of music, do you have anything to say about Across the Spider-Verse?
Did you watch Across the Spider-Verse?
Yes, I was almost said we watched it together. We didn't. I watched it with Matt. James, I already ranted to you about this.
Oh, he doesn't
I
like
was,
it?
No, I was really pissed when I realized they didn't talk about the sound design at
Oh,
all in
that's right. I do
Spider-Verse.
remember this.
I taught both of them like the D&D session afterwards. That podcast came out. I was like, how dare you forget the sound design because it's
We
beautiful.
forget. It happened. I mean, we forget.
Oh.
Yeah, you know, it happens.
But we're not
We didn't
talking
even-
about that.
We didn't even talk about the bomb in the Oppenheimer, which we can
But yeah,
splice in like right now.
The first song that plays in the Barbie movie, that where she's like doing like her wake up song or whatever, I really enjoyed that. It
Yeah.
was like
Was
it's
it,
kind of not catchy or anything, but just the
It was it's a
wanna say it.
very familiar artist.
yeah, it just was done really well. And it really like it fits the themology and stuff, and just like the way that like shut up. The way that like the music had what was I'm looking for? I'm not a very verbose person. Yeah. Where like it would keep constantly changing with what like they're going through, obviously, but like it's the same song. It's just like the lyrics would shift and stuff, and like the tone would different. It was good stuff. Again, way more production value than you would expect on something like this.
Yeah.
You know, same with like the acting. Like, you didn't need to go this hard for the Barbie movie, especially with the script like the way that it is, but you did, and I respect it.
$145 million budget.
Yeah. And they made it work. All
We
that
ran
pink
out
paint.
of pink.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all I have for music. and
Forget
that's all I have for
sriracha. We forgot. We ran out of pink for one point in the world. There was no more pink paint in the world.
so many Beatles.
All right, let's do it real quick. First off, should we do the atomic bomb? No, we'll do that later, and then I'll
All right.
spice that in.
All right.
So I gave mine
4.
the awards.
Oh,
Actor. You said
Yep.
production design.
I
set
think
design,
production design, set design, music as well.
music as well.
For actors, Margot Robbie is almost certainly going to get nominated as well for Best Actress.
Yeah, I'm thinking of who else. Michelle Rodriguez in D&D.
That was this year.
That was a joke. That was a joke. Don't take it seriously. That was such a joke.
For
I'm just
all-
thinking of actresses.
Oh, yeah, I see. I don't know. I mean, the movies that have stood out the most for me this year have really just been Oppenheimer, Across the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
That's really been about. I mean, even like ones that we've reviewed, I can't even really recall them that well
Yeah.
because it's like we saw the D&D movie, but that's not going to get nominated for a single thing other than maybe production design
You're right. I'm just
Or
saying.
costumes or something.
or
It'll get-
costumes.
costumes.
Barbie will
It
also
should-
Hair
get
and
costumes.
makeup.
Yep, same for Barbie as well. But really, outside of that, nothing I can.
Yeah, it's gonna win a lot of theatrical things. I feel like, and I
I
feel
think it's
like
nominated for best screenplay or best
I
adapted
think it
screenplay.
is. I think it is just because this screams Academy Award. Like, we want to show that we're diverse, even though we don't nominate people of color.
Yeah.
It's like,
We'll just give it to
Yeah.
Noah Baumbach.
Like-
yeah,
yeah, exactly, something like that.
yeah.
So
I
feel
think
they're
you'll
gonna
get
be like,
nominated.
Oh, we nominated guys. I can't be sexist. I nominated a woman.
Yeah, Barbie.
Yeah,
I nominated a real woman, Barbie.
I feel like it's gonna do one of those.
Yeah.
That the Academy loves to do.
Yeah, and then Oppenheimer's gonna win it anyway for best script.
Probably. Well, no, because this would be original.
That's
Or
true.
do you think this would be adapted? Because
That's
it's
a
only
good
adapted on a
question.
toy. It's not adapted on an actual.
If it said in the credits based on the toy by
Maybe they invent a
Mattel,
new award specifically for this.
Well,
Best movie based on a toy.
Mm.
And they still lose to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I was gonna say, what was
That's good.
What did the Lego movie fall under? Same concept.
Well,
that was
the Lego
animation.
movie was not nominated.
It was
I
not
think
nominated for a
nominated
screenplay.
like,
It was only animation.
animation. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Animation
Yeah.
doesn't get respect at the Oscars.
Nobody likes animation.
Except for us two. But yeah,
Yeah.
besides the point.
You're included in the us two.
I'm part of the fun.
Yeah, I really can't
Alright.
think of anything else.
Let's move ahead to the bomb then.
What's the bomb?
Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer.
It's gonna get nominated for everything.
Oh yeah.
It's. Will it win everything? That's gonna be fun.
That'd be interesting to
I think
see.
it's gonna be between this,
Mm-hmm.
Killers of the Flower Moon, just because it's Martin.
Mm-hmm. Dune if it comes
I
out this
think
year.
it's gonna be Dune because they want to give him that Return of the King treatment,
Yeah.
right? Where it's like you did the unthinkable. I've said this multiple times. You did what nobody else in Hollywood has done at this point. You've made an actually good version
Of Dune. I feel like if Dune gets pushed back to next year, I feel like Oppenheimer could do a Return of the King
Yeah.
and sweep everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Spoiler alert for Oppenheimer. It's a good movie.
Yeah, we liked
Bruh.
it. We liked it a lot.
This is why I don't like talking to these guys because they spoil everything. How was I supposed to know that, man? Like, come on.
Haha, now you can't form your own opinion on it.
Oh no! It's funny because as soon as we left the theater, I went to Connor. I was like, "All right, time to go to Reddit to form my opinion."
It's doubly funny because Reddit loved the Barbie movie.
That's why I don't watch it.
All right. So that's it. That's
Atomic
all I
Bomb?
had to say.
Can we
Atomic
do that
Bomb.
real quick?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
What did you think about it? The scene, the actual scene.
When
Not
I heard,
spoilers because Connor's in front of us.
I'm not going to see this film.
Yes, you. Oh my god.
I'm going to eventually, but like I'm not going to watch it.
That's fair enough.
Connor, you have to watch this.
I'll watch it eventually.
So we all know that they didn't use an actual atom bomb. They didn't drop an actual nuke in this film.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Like on set, I mean.
Oh,
Yeah. They used miniatures, is
Yeah,
what they
yeah,
did.
yeah, yeah.
Interestingly
And a lot
enough.
of funny, funky angles.
And to that extent, it looked pretty good, I think. I feel like I could tell they used miniatures because the actual coverage of the explosion itself
Yeah.
felt very like
Yeah.
compartmentalized.
Yeah.
No pun intended if you've seen Oppenheimer.
Nice. I like it.
You know, there wasn't really like one big kind of explosion shot. But nevertheless, I mean, that imagery is spliced throughout the course of the film anyway, so that by the time you actually get to the explosion, you're like, oh yeah, this is, you know, just a buildup of what it's for.
It does a weird thing where we as the audience are hyped up because we have been hearing about this explosion since the trailer released. We're like, holy shit, is he gonna do it?
Yeah.
What is he gonna do? And it also works for that because you are also amped up for the characters on the screen, where it's like so much is riding on this.
Yeah.
That they are tense. So it works both ways. Because when that was happening and the countdown was going on, I was like, holy shit. I was like, this is actually happening. I'm about to watch like one of the things I've been hyped for the past year. And then it happens and you're like, it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. It's not at all what I thought it was going to be. It was a little smaller, I will say, than what I was expecting. Shut up, Connor. This is why we don't invite him on the pod.
You literally asked me to be here.
But, yeah. So anyways. But I think the tension building up to it was what really...
Absolutely. That sold
enhanced
it the most. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, also beautifully well done because it's not like...
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just...
And apparently
muted.
it's what it was, all the sound effects and everything like that, that's what it was like to be there. That's what the bomb, how the sound actually traveled. So, good stuff.
Thank you, Christopher Nolan, for
Thank you,
doing your
Nolan,
research
for-
prior to...
Yeah. I mean,
Shout out to whoever designed that because they actually knew how to Google. What was the atomic explosion like at the Trinity test? Which surprisingly is very hard for most most designers.
So yeah, let me Google search the tons of footage we have of an actual atom bomb going off.
You would be surprised how much people do not, how much filmmakers just are neglect that. God damn. All right, we're out of here. That was our Barbenheimer. It's gonna be a weird one because I'm gonna splice together like 5 different segments. But it's all good. It's fun. It was a good time. Good weekend for cinema. Cinema's back. Crowded theaters.
2023 has peaked until Dune.
It peaked with the
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I would say it peaked.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens later in the year.
We'll see what happens later in the year.
Yeah, this was fun. Thank you, Connor, for coming on.
Yeah. I'll be back shortly. We're gonna do a Tears of the Kingdom podcast.
Yeah.
I'm only saying this because I imagine it'll be recorded within literally the next few hours or
Yes.
tomorrow.
It won't be released the same day,
Yeah,
but
I
it will
assume it'll be
definitely be recorded
Yeah.
around.
So you guys get a little teaser. If I'm in the same clothes, it was literally next.
See, we just need Connor to run our gaming division, and then we have a reason to keep bringing him over.
They keep trying to say, they're like, Connor, do a gaming podcast, do a gaming podcast. I don't like you guys enough to hang out that much.
You don't have to hang out with us. You record it on your own, and we just publish it under our banner.
I'm not funny by myself.
That's why you bring guests.
But you'd be my guest. It all comes full
It works
circle.
perfectly then.
But yes, good weekend. Good time if you like movies. I say having only watched one of the films that came out this weekend.
That's all that matters. Support
You know,
original, authentic filmmaking.
Yeah. Support the writer's strike.
All right, now you're just pandering. Get the fuck out of here. I'm just kidding. That was a joke. That was a joke.
Are we on the director's side? I'm sorry.
No, it's funny because we had a pod like 2 weeks ago where I was like, all right, everybody who supports the writer's strike, I get it. You can support it. Just shut the fuck up about it. If you're not in the industry and actively on the picket lines, shut up. I don't want to hear about some freaking random person who works at a hotel like, oh, I support the writers. It's like,
No, you don't.
who cares, you know?
We know you don't.
Yeah, that was my thing where I was just like, just shut up. I'm tired of seeing Reddit. Anyways.
Which is where most of it is, yeah.
Yeah, I went on like a 10-minute tangent about that. So, all right, we're out of here. Thanks, guys. It was fun. Good times. by all.